We will begin our day. I will take a motion or if there's any corrections or amendments to the agenda. Nope, seeing none. Motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Finn, all in favor? That is carried. Excuse me. And approval of the minutes, April 1st, regular council meeting. Is there any corrections or amendments? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes. Councillor Jeffrey, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, well, we will begin. We have some proclamations this week. So we're starting off with National Volunteer Week. Whereas last year alone, Drayton Valley and District FCSS direct and indirect programs supported 347 volunteers and contributed over 13,966 volunteer hours, representing a monetary value of at least $279,320. And whereas Drayton Valley is full of inspiring community builders and volunteers who so generously give their time, energy, and talent to making our community even better. And whereas Drayton Valley is honored to recognize and thank local volunteers with the FCSS Volunteer Recognition Program. Whereas we are grateful for the time, skills, empathy, and creativity all Drayton Valley area volunteers offer and how they contribute to the inclusivity, the strength, and the well-being of our community. I urge all residents to consider how they join volunteer efforts, whether for a singular event or as part of our local community groups, to further strengthen the positive impact that volunteerism has on our community. Therefore, I, Deputy Mayor Farrell Wheeler, on behalf of the Town Council for the Town of Drayton Valley, do hereby proclaim April 19th to April 25th as National Volunteer Week in the Town of Drayton Valley. Yay, tremendous applause. And we have one more, which is for our Be Seen in Jeans Week. So, whereas the Greater Drayton Valley area proudly celebrates its strong rodeo heritage and vibrant Western lifestyle, which continues to be an important part of our community's identity, and whereas Be Seen in Jean Week encourages residents, businesses, and organizations to come together in a fun and encouraging way to show their community spirit by wearing jeans in recognition of local rodeo tradition, and whereas the Town of Drayton Valley values events that strengthen local pride, support community engagement, and highlight the cultural significance of Rodeo Week. And whereas participation in Be Seen in Jean Week will be recognized and celebrated, including opportunities for community members and local businesses to be awarded DV Chamber Cash, further supporting local commerce and community connections. Therefore, I, Deputy Mayor Farrell Wheeler, on behalf of the Council for the Town of Drayton Valley, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2026 to May 1st, 2026 as Be Seen in Jean Week in the Town of Drayton Valley. I'm so used to turning off my microphone when I'm done talking. Okay. Moving forward, we have no public hearings today, so we'll jump right into our delegations. Our first delegation is our 2025 financial statement from our auditor. Phil, it's been a few years since I've seen you, but I'm assuming you've been here the whole time, so welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
I haven't been here the whole time.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't been here.
Well, I should hope
There we
not,
go.
or things might be really wrong.
Anyways, man, I tell you, after hearing the national anthem, I'm pumped up.
Yeah.
Feels like I should be playing hockey or something. Am I loud enough?
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
echo in here with the microphone, but as long as it's green, it's on.
Okay, well, I'm not a loud talker, but anyways, good morning again, and members of council, administration, anybody else who's here, and I'm Phil Dirks. I'm a partner with Metrics Group, Chartered Professional Accountants in Edmonton, and happy to be here to say a few words about the audit and the financial statements. So I'm just gonna grab my notes here. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm getting tired of winter. Hopefully today's the, pardon me? 28 degrees? I'll put the under on that. Anyways, we'll get at it here. Hopefully, won't take up too much of your time, but
No worries.
give you an overview of, more importantly, maybe what we do and what we don't do. And I think Elvira's presenting the fourth quarter report, so I'll hit some highlights on the financial statements and she can deal with the details. But anyways, I'll see if I can use the clicker here. So there we go. So think that, well, first of all, I want to just say that the audit went very well. So thanks to Connor and Elvira and everybody else in the finance staff for all their assistance. From our standpoint, when we do an audit, we're a little bit selfish. We like to be the center of attention, so to speak, and, not really, but, we want to get things done. We want answers to our questions. We want to get information in a timely manner, not get the runaround. And so that's not, that is the case here. We did not get to run around. Everybody is very cooperative in answering questions and getting us information so that things can get done on a timely basis. So that's really appreciated. So thanks to everybody over there. Okay, as far as in your financial statements, you would see that there's an auditor's report included in there. I won't read that whole report to you, but seeing that there's a few new people on council, I'll just say a few more words maybe about what the auditors are doing. So we're hired by town council to audit the town's financial statements. So what does that mean? Auditors in Canada are required to follow Canadian auditing standards in conducting or planning and performing an audit. So whether we're auditing the town of Drayton Valley's financial statements or somebody's auditing, for example, Shopify's financial statements, it's the same set of auditing standards. So those standards lay out what the auditors have to do in completing their work. But to summarize, those rules really want the auditors to look at risk and focus their attention on areas where we think there's a higher possibility of misstatements occurring. So anyways, there may be more than one way to skin a cat, but as far as an audit goes, but generally speaking, I think that most firms would approach a municipal audit pretty much the same way. They may do a little bit less work or more work in certain areas, but overall, that's what we're dealing with. We also are required we get audited every 3 years by the Canadian, or the Institute of CPAs of Alberta. So they come to our office and they look at a sample of files and make sure that we're, doing things in accordance with these standards and so on. So anyway, that's what we're dealing with. Further down at the bottom of this slide, you can see that there's a comment about management's responsibilities. So even though in this case and in many cases with many of our clients, we prepare the financial statements, there's still management's responsibility. So, management has had their chance to go over them and give their input on things. But at the end of the day, those are their responsibilities, as well as internal controls over the finances and so on. Our responsibility at the bottom of the page, probably the most important thing, if you're looking in the auditor's report, our job at the end of the day is to provide reasonable assurance whether or not the financial statements are materially misstated. So what does that mean? That's a pretty big mouthful. What's reasonable assurance? It would be approaching a high level, but never a guarantee. People could lie to us, and certain numbers are maybe more persuasive than conclusive. Like a bank account, it's either that number or it's not. In the case of estimates, there could be a range where there could be some judgment involved. So we have to use our judgment in completing our work as well. So anyways, sometimes I get the question, is everything okay? And, we're not hired to tell you whether everything's okay, even if I knew what everything's okay meant. Again, back to what number one job is to complete our audit in accordance with the auditing standards and provide an auditor's report that includes our opinion. And so at the top of the slide there in the auditor's report, we're stating that the financial statements are in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So those are the standards that municipalities, school boards, those types of, or different levels of government, they use that financial reporting framework in completing their financial statements. So anyway, we did provide you with an audit plan earlier in the year that discusses some of this good stuff. I know it's not the most exciting topic on the planet, but I feel it's important to let you know what we do and what maybe we don't do. When we're doing our audit, we may see things that, we might want to provide a recommendation or a suggestion, but that's a side product of what our main objective is. So anyways, with that said, I will move on to the financial statements. So I did just do up the slide here because the actual statements are pretty small, the numbers. So I'm getting old. It's hard to see. But hopefully that gives you a little bit better visual. So if we look at the town's statement of financial position at the end of 2025 here with comparatives for 2024, just starting at the top of the page there, you can see that the town had financial assets of $26 million. So financial assets are, things that are cash or that will be cash in the near future. Probably the most important, item in that category is receivables. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But other than that, investments, just a quick comment on that. That includes GICs of 1.5 million and also some mutual funds of 10.1 million. So the only thing I was going to point out there is that most of the numbers on the financial statements are reported at cost, but the mutual funds are derivative instruments, so those are recorded at market value. So that can fluctuate a little bit from year to year. So like I said, receivables is an important number. Why is that important? Why do I lose sleep over that? I don't actually lose sleep over it, but the saying goes you could lose sleep over it. So what we're really concerned about there is collectability. So thankfully with most municipal clients, there's not too many issues as far as, the money that's out there, your taxes. I mean, if I don't pay my taxes, you take my house and all those kind of good things, right? So just a couple of highlights here, starting at the top of the page. So trade and other really includes quite a bit, 3.9 million includes quite a bit of funds from different levels of government, including the LGFF allocation for 2025. So that was 1.3 million. Some cost share money from the county for various items that they share with them, so 620,000, and then the Canadian Community Building Fund allocation for 2025 is also there. That's 490,000. So that's a good portion of that amount. So those items have either come in after the end of the year, or in the case of those grant allocations, we know they're going to be forthcoming. So there's nothing included in those that we felt was a concern as far as collectability. Your taxes have come down a little bit, so that's good. No issues there either. And then the goods and services tax, that's $890,000. So our audit does include some work assessing whether or not the amount that was claimed for GST rebates was reasonable. And I see I left a line on there that should have been removed. Local improvements, those were done. So anyways, at the end of the day there at the bottom, there's an allowance for $61,000 just related to a few accounts that were potentially, a little slow paying. Doesn't mean that you're not trying to, or efforts are not being made to collect those, but, as auditors, we'd like to be conservative. So, if there's any kind of doubt there, there's an allowance there. So receivables, really no issues. So carrying on back to the statement of financial position, there's, like I said, $26 million of financial assets. Then the town had liabilities of, second line from the bottom, 30 million. So just a couple of comments there, and we'll look at a couple of the more important notes. But payables, a little bit lower than last year. Previous year, there was actually some money in there related to the fires that was due to wildfires that was due to the city of Edmonton. That was 1.9 million. So that's why that's lower. But really, the rest of it, there's nothing unusual in the town's payables. We audit upwards of 50 municipalities and so on. So there, there's nothing in there that scares me. But it really is just about timing. And what we're concerned about in that area is really cutoff, making sure that there was an accurate cutoff and we have complete payables at the end of the year. Deferred revenue, 4.6 million is also a fairly big number. So that's grants that the town has either received or are forthcoming that haven't been spent yet. So they sit in that account until they've been spent on what they're allocated for, and then they would become into revenue. The other item that's a little bit unusual, especially if you're a first timer, asset retirement obligations, second line from the bottom. So back in 2022, there was a new accounting standard for municipalities for asset retirement obligations. So this, in the case of the town, is mostly due to with the closure and post-closure of the landfill. I just got to see my notes here. 5.6 million of that is for the landfill closure, post-closure, and then Also, there's about $500,000 or $600,000 related to asbestos. So just so maybe backing up, so with the asbestos for buildings that were built pre-1990-ish, there's probably some problems there with if you ever poke a hole in the wall somewhere, you can run into some liability. So this standard requires those liabilities to be recorded today probably with the case of asbestos, you may not even notice that until you go and poke a hole in a wall somewhere, and then you may be able to reduce the liability instead of call it an expense at that point. Actually, we audit a number of school boards too, and they have a lot of old school buildings around the province, so their numbers for some of these things are in the 20 million, So anyways, it doesn't take long to rack up the charges when it comes to that remediation. So that's what that's all about. But most of it, like I said, is to do with the closure of the landfill, and there's some estimating going on in that calculation for sure. So just keep that in mind. Long-term debt, largest liability, $12.6 million. So as you know, the town did take out a new loan last year, $1.7 million for the 50th Avenue project. And most of these loans are, well, a good portion of them are debentures with the province. And I think there's also one, I know there's another one with the FCM, I think it is. Is that, yeah, FCM. Sorry, I'm just going by memory. Anyways, we've confirmed those balances with all those organizations as part of our work. So when you look at one of the notes in the financial statements, there's a requirement by the Municipal Government Act, Note 8, that lays out the debt limits for the town. So total at the top of the page, total debt limit was 48 million, less the current debt. And so the town has a debt limit available of $35 million. Actually, I should have mentioned that these are in millions, if you're wondering where the zeros went.
Our credit cards are looking good. Yep.
Sorry. Anyways, yeah, so the point here is you're well within the debt limits. At the bottom there, you can see you've used up about 26%. So, whoever made these rules at the time felt that, if a municipality was approaching, using up that debt limit, that could be a sign of financial distress or difficulty. So I don't think there's any issues there as far as that goes. But we all know it doesn't take very long to spend a lot of money in a hurry, right? So then carrying on, again, just to round out the statement of financial position. So financial assets less the liabilities is a net debt of 3.8 million. So, that's really nothing to be worried about. That does include the debt of 12 million, and you're not going to pay that all back in the next year. But what that number represents is money that's going to have to come from future revenue sources to make up that difference eventually. And just as an aside, I think it was maybe 5 or 6, maybe more years ago, they changed the way the statement of financial position was laid out. So in 2027, they're making some changes to this again, so it's going to maybe be a little bit easier to read, and they're adding some schedules, so just be aware of that. And you can all circle that on your calendar, and it's probably I think actually
Very exciting.
Well, yeah, I think they're actually changing it back to a little bit more of the way it was. So I always tell people, I don't make the rules, we just have to follow them. So anyways, that's coming down the pipe. But as far as non-financial assets, so if you look at any municipality's financial statements, the biggest asset would be the capital assets. So these are items that last more than 1 year. All the good stuff like roads, sewers, water, all the buildings and all that equipment, all those types of things. So what are we worried about there? Every now and then clients have a different idea of what capital asset might be compared to what the auditors think it might be. So we may have some discussions around those types of things, but I think this year there was no issues with any of the items that were added. There was about $5 million of additions that got added to those accounts this year. And just as a reminder, that 131 million is net book value. So what the town paid for those assets less amortization over the years. It's not meant to be, market value. It's just really an allocation of how much it costs to use those assets every year, and the net book value is the amount left over. So, all right. So again, non-financial assets are 131 million. When you add that to the net debt, you have an accumulated surplus of 127, and you can think of accumulated surplus as, it's basically accounting net worth. So the way I always like to think about this is, the top part of that statement is like our personal finances. We have our savings and we have maybe a car loan and all those kinds of things. And then at the bottom here, we've got our house and the equity in the house, and same kind of idea, right? So if you look at what makes up that 127 million, again, here you can see maybe just working backwards down at the bottom, second line from the bottom, equity and TCA. That's the equity in all those assets I was just talking about, less the related debts, same as with your house. House is worth X, less the loan on it, there's your equity. So you're not going to find that 112 million in a bank account anywhere. It's bricks and mortar and all that good stuff. Then on top of that, the town has restricted, primarily through council motions, various operating and capital reserves. Those are disclosed in note 10. So just over, $11 million roughly. That's been set aside for various projects, and you can see the details there. But I always think about my kids I've been giving them an allowance, and they're saving up for a motorbike there. They got that in their pocket, and they might put their leftover in their other pocket, and that's the top part, unrestricted. It's not for anything in particular at this moment. The town needs to have some funds available to operate on a daily basis, so that's what that represents. And then at the bottom, if you remember when I was first talking there, I mentioned that those mutual funds are carried at market value. So the 165,000 is the difference between market value and book value at the end of the year. So at the end of December 2025, the market value was actually $165,000 less than the book value, but it's increased from 348 the year before. So does it matter? Not really. I mean, that was one point in time. It is different today. It'll go up and down, but that's where it was at that point. So that's the statement of financial position. I'll just move on to the statement of operations here. And if you have questions, just feel free to interrupt me. So I'll try to keep this pretty brief and let you go. But looking at revenues, operating revenues, top of the page there, you can see at the bottom of the page actually, budget was 31 million. The actual was 31,850. So it was about $800,000 uptick there. Really, the biggest area you're going to see a difference there is under government transfers. Some of that ELCC money is budgeted in a different line item. It's in sales and user charges rather than the government transfers. So that's primarily why that's different. Rentals, a little bit higher than budget due to the affordable housing primarily. And then donations under other, that 228 is over the budget. It's hard to budget for those types of things, and you honestly don't want to count on things that may not happen, right? So, I think that's no issues there. So, as far as what we do, taxation, we can look at your bylaw, your assessment, A times B, there it is, pretty much just like, it takes a little longer than that, but that's the approach to that. Sales and user charges, a lot of that is water, sewer, garbage, those types of things. So we can do a lot of that type of work where we look at what, you purchase for water and tie that into all these revenue accounts. Same thing with work in the sewer area, sewer and the waste. So some of these things in revenue are, from an auditor's standpoint, very nice to audit. Other than that, government transfers, we're mostly looking at the grant agreements and those types of things. So anyways, like I said, your town finished the year $800,000 ahead of budget. So if we move on to expenses, won't necessarily go through every line here again, but if you start at the bottom of the page, second line from the bottom, you can see the budget was 36.6 million, actual was 37.5. But we have amortization at the very bottom there. So, it's not that it's not important, but it's not a cash item. So if you take that out, you can look at those numbers without the budget, without the amortization, and basically you're about $50,000 less than what you had budgeted for there. So if you look down the list, just a couple of highlights. Road, streets, walks, that was a little bit over budget due to some extra snow removal. And I imagine this year might be even more snow removal by the feeling of it. Seems like it's always snowing. Other than that, fire and disaster, there was a couple items there. You did have to pay the county some extra DRIP money, DRP money related to the wildfires. So that was $128,000. And then there was also the aerial fire truck that you had budgeted to purchase, but in the end of the day, you ended up providing a contribution to the county for that for $244,000. So those two items are basically the reason why that line item is 1.7 versus 1.3. So it's not like the fire wasn't budgeted, it was just in a different line. But other than that, overall, you're very close to budget, so those are some good results. And in fact, actually, if you look at last year, without amortization, 28.8 million, this year 28.5, so we're more or less holding things in check, so that's good. So rounding out the statement of financial operations, we had revenues less expenses of, in the middle there, top of the page, 5.6 million, and the budget was 5.6 million. So, you basically more or less did exactly what you had set out to do. It's a deficit, and that's only because of amortization. So if you look at the bottom of the page, and this is not in your financial statements, so it's an extra. Anyways, if you add back amortization, so if you take the yellow line to the bottom there and add back the amortization, I call that the adjusted operating surplus. So you actually can see there that town definitely brought in enough funds to cover those expenses other than amortization. So, I don't think that, well, I know none of our clients are, they might budget for amortization, but they're not tacking that on to taxes. So, or maybe they might do a little bit, but definitely not the whole thing. So anyways, other than that, other revenue, you can see at the top of the other revenue category, there's some money there for grants that were used for funding some of the capital asset purchases, 1.3 million. The budget was almost 16 million. That was mostly for the wastewater treatment augmentation that did not go ahead. So if you're wondering why that looks like a typo, but it's not. But other than that, from an accounting standpoint, at the end of the day, the town has an annual deficit at the bottom of the page of 4.3 million. So that is a brief overview of the financial statements. Like I said, things went well. I think you had some good results there as far as your operating results go, and that's good to see. So just to round out, I think you have in your package, you would have an audit findings report. Just kind of summarize a few things here. So again, there's certain things under the auditing standards that the auditor, not just our firm, and auditors are required to report back to council about. So top of the page, we did not find any significant control deficiencies. So what would that mean? If the control was not operating, to detect, prevent, correct misstatements on a timely basis, then we could have some issues there, but no concerns there. No unusual accounting policy. So the auditors are, again, supposed to comment on anything unusual. So, there's nothing unusual in the books from at least our experience. There's, standard types of things. Where are estimates made? So again, it's the people that make the auditing standards feel that estimates are important, and they are important, but they're probably more important in a company like Shopify, where, in that case, the management might be trying to manipulate share price by using estimates as an area where they can maybe sneak things past the auditor easier. But in this case, there's pretty standard items, like I mentioned, asset retirement obligations, amortization, and the allowance for doubtful accounts. So nothing unusual, but those areas do involve a little bit of judgment. Adjusted and unadjusted differences. So like I said, audit went very well. We only came up with 3 adjustments. So kudos to the staff. We do our best to find mistakes, but that's all we could come up with. So good job. And then as far as unadjusted differences, so you might be wondering, well, why would there be an unadjusted difference if you did an audit? Well, the auditor's report says the financial statements are not materially misstated. So if we had to audit to a level where there was never any misstatements, we'd be here all year. We'd never leave. So anyways, there was a couple of things that were not material or too significant, but they were already known about. The main point there was some money, or the RCMP retro pay, that was a couple years back. That should have been recorded in a few years ago, but it's being recorded as it was paid. So from an accounting standpoint, that's and misstatement, but everybody knew about that. So that's what that's about. And, we can live with that. And just as an aside, if you're wondering, when I first started doing this 30 years ago, one of the clients of the place I was working at was Cameco, and they would have misstatements in their set of books of 8-9 million, and that didn't matter. So, anyways, just so you know, if you're buying
That's not
Cameco
the
stock.
bar we have, so.
No, but the point is, it has to be, like I said, if we were going to audit to a level like that, nobody would ever want an audit. So, but the point also is, those misstatements never came forward to council. And so when they changed the auditing standards, like, okay, now you're going to have to tell council about these misstatements. And all of a sudden, management was a little bit more eager to adjust these things. So, anyways, the point, not here, but just in general, So, it's just more about transparency. So, anyways, difficulties. The word significant comes right from the auditing standards, so we're not supposed to complain about every little thing. But there was nothing to complain about. Like I said at the beginning, the audit went very well. So again, thanks to everybody, and we really appreciate that. We will issue a management letter to management here in the next week or so, just to discuss a few things or follow up on things that we had mentioned in last year's management letter. And I don't think there was anything in there that is of serious nature, but it's more just observations and maybe some recommendations and follow up on things that were addressed. So anyways, so that is, maybe I went a little bit longer than I normally would, but hopefully it gives you an overview of what we do and how the finances are in general. And I'd say, the town's accounts are in good shape. So if anybody has any questions, I could try to answer those.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Clark?
So what you're saying is we're not like Givens.
No comment.
So I guess just in that vein, so when it comes to, I guess, your guys' job, I think when you look at Givens, I think some of the things were they were approaching their debt limit, overstating revenues, stuff like that, right? So I guess your role in that, or your company like yours, their role would be to kind of uncover things like that, or I guess how do you go about kind of, because Givens, it was a long, slow burn, right? It's not like it happened overnight. So I guess how's that reflected in these sorts of things?
Well, if it was really, really bad, and I'm not going to comment specifically on Gibbons, there would be some disclosure in the auditor's report at some point that, there may be a going concern issue. That situation was a little bit different. So again, I'm not going to comment there, but, there definitely was discussions that they were approaching their debt limit and those things. So, I think the key thing to me is that's not the auditor's job to tell, management how the town's doing. I mean, if it was really bad, I would say something, but management should have said something way before the auditor. I mean, we come in way after things are done, right? So, but having said that, to your question, like, this is not anywhere in that realm. So, yeah, but if it was really bad, there would have been some disclosures in the audit report possibly, or a going concern note. But, there's some judgment involved there too, so. And obviously hindsight is always 20/20, so.
But really, you guys are looking at accounting practices in a sense, making sure the practices the town is using are what's adhered to standardized, so that we have assurance as a community, that the practices are being upheld, right?
Yes, but more so just that what management's telling you about the numbers all year
Yeah.
is not significantly different than what they're saying.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, when we, like I said at the beginning, controls are management's responsibility. The auditors may choose to rely on some of those controls that are relevant to the audit, but we would never look at all the controls. In a larger municipality like this, payroll, purchasing, those types of things are the main areas where, controls are important, only because, the bigger revenue sources, like taxes, it's the bylaw, the assessment, there's the money, it's pretty easy to audit. I always kind of think of it like if you look at a rental property and there's 2 units and you know how much they rent for, you know what the revenue should be, and that's on a bigger scale. So from our standpoint, we always like it when we can, do substantive work rather than control testing, because I think it makes you feel a little bit more certain. I mean, I'll be honest, when I'm signing checks at our office and I'm busy and someone comes by and goes, sign this checks, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is for. Okay, fine. If it's a big item and I wonder, what is this? I'll go ask somebody. But, I mean, the controls, those are only as good as the people behind them, right? So it's always a little bit better evidence for us when we can prove something, or there's an agreement that says, here's what that number should be, and there it is. So that's kind of where we started and work backwards.
Awesome. Any further questions? I think you're off the hook. That was easy. So thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you driving in our 8th winter, and good luck getting home.
Yes, well, thanks for having me. And like I always tell people, if you think of something, when you wake up in the middle of the night like I do and think, oh, man, I forgot about that, or, whatever, feel free to run it through Elvira or Connor, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. So thanks for having me, and I hope you have a good day.
Thanks, you too. All right. We are on to our second delegation. So we have the West Central Airshed Society joining us. I believe they're online. Just 1 second and we'll bring you up on the screen. Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We are fine, thanks. Can you hear us okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Morning.
Okay.
And myself as well?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. And let's hope when I put it in presenter mode that it works. Hold on.
We do have the PowerPoint as part of our package too, just in case.
Okay. Are you able to see it now?
Yep.
Yes.
We can see the other slides on the side too, Selena, so I'm not sure if you need to put it in a different mode. There we go.
Okay, but then I can't see my notes. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try this one more time. My apologies, everyone.
No, all good.
Okay, share. Okay.
We are a new council since you guys have last presented. Would you mind doing a quick introduction maybe for us?
Yes, that is part of my presentation. Do you guys have the slides up on your side that
Yep.
you can see them or not?
Yep, we're
I'm
good.
so sorry. I'm very bad at Zoom.
No, it's okay.
Okay, hold on.
So we have our presentation will bring us back to Airshed 101 so that you can understand a little bit about who we are, what we do in the Drayton Valley area. We will show you the steps along the way so that whether you've been involved with us before or you're new to the West Central Airshed Society, you will understand. It will make sense to you along the way. And then, of course, we're always open for questions at the end.
Perfect.
Okay, can I just ask what view you're seeing again? Are you still seeing my notes?
Yes, we can see everything, Selena.
Okay, I don't know how to not share it otherwise. I'm so sorry, you guys. I am not sure why this is doing this. I have dual screens.
That's okay. If you just, that'll still see the notes, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just
Like,
present
maybe
how
it
you need
is-
to. We're not worried. We have a monitor
I
with
just
all of
didn't-
you on it, and we also have our presentation up over here where we can actually really see it. So as long
Okay,
as you
so if
have
you
it so
guys
you
have
can
it-
see it.
Okay, then if you have it up and you can see it, I'm just going to not share my screen. Does that sound
Yeah.
okay? Yes,
Yep,
and
no
am
worries.
I still sharing or not? I'm no longer
Nope.
sharing, right?
You're
Okay,
good.
I'm just not sure what I have.
They
here.
have that up.
Okay, my apologies, everyone. Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Selena Fairbank. I'm one of the engagement coordinators at West Central Airshed Society, or WestCAS, as you'll hear me refer to it. Thank you so much, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to present today. I am here to share information about WestCAS and air quality monitoring in Drayton Valley. Also on Zoom with me is my colleague Yvonne Barker, and she will assist with answering any questions that may arise. So on the next slide, first we are going to start off with why air quality matters. We all breathe the same air. Air quality affects everyone every day, regardless of your age or background. There are many health effects linked to poor air quality, such as respiratory and cardiovascular effects. We also know vulnerable populations are at a higher risk. Not everyone is impacted equally. So this can include seniors, children, and people with pre-existing health conditions. We also know that vulnerable populations are at a higher risk. Oh, I just read that, my apologies. It can also impact our daily life. So during poor air quality events, we may have to limit time outdoors, and we may have to cancel sporting events. We also see more people missing school or work as they don't feel well, and we can see increases in healthcare visits and costs. So lastly, with changes in climate, we are also seeing an increasing frequency of poor air quality days due to wildfires. So wildfires obviously release large amounts of fine particulate matter into the air, which can travel great distances and pose serious health risks, especially to high-risk populations. So how do we manage and monitor air quality locally? In Alberta, airsheds are regional organizations that help us understand and address air quality. So WestCAS is a nonprofit, multi-stakeholder organization that monitors local air quality by measuring air pollutants and weather conditions. We share real-time data with the public and anyone needing current air quality data, and report more detailed data to government, industry researchers, and other stakeholders. Our network of monitoring stations collects data that is used to determine the air quality health index for many communities. We also actively engage with communities to raise air quality awareness, share data through knowledge translation, and provide education. As a nonprofit, WestCAS receives funding from 3 primary streams: monitoring agreements, grants, and membership fees, which includes emitters and others such as municipalities. WestCAS is one of 10 airsheds within Alberta, and together all 10 airsheds make up the Alberta Airsheds Council. We also operate as airsheds over 90 continuous monitoring stations and hundreds of other monitoring sites across the province. And over 85% of Alberta's population does live within an airshed. Next slide. Oh, sorry, I forgot to prompt you guys. Next slide. Got too many screens going on. So monitoring air quality is our core operation. We have 11 continuous monitoring stations, which provide near instantaneous measurements of ambient concentrations of many pollutants, including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, ozone, fine particulate matter, carbon monoxide, and more. So all monitoring stations are also equipped with meteorological equipment to assess the impact of local conditions on weather, or local weather conditions on ambient air. And the data collected at many of our stations is used to calculate the air quality health index, like in Drayton Valley. WestCAS also has a growing network of fine particulate matter, or PM 2.5 microsensors. These sensors are affordable, easy to use, and allow for community level air quality monitoring. So by placing them in different neighborhoods, we can see more detailed variations in local air quality, identify hotspots, and understand local sources. They're also a great source of air quality data during wildfire smoke events. Next slide, please. So this map shows the geographic boundaries of the West Central Airshed, which covers communities, industry, and landscapes across the region. You will also see the locations of our continuous monitoring stations. These are the bigger dots. So these are our stations that are collecting high quality real-time data, and they form the backbone of our long-term air quality trends and reporting, and many of them are reporting the air quality health index. The map also highlights our approximately 30 microsensor monitoring locations. And these sensors allow us to fill in data gaps, respond to community questions, and better understand local air quality conditions at a finer scale. Next slide, please. So our membership consists of industry, municipal, non-governmental organizations, teachers, community groups, and other stakeholders. Our primary responsibility is to monitor, analyze, and report on air quality in West Central Alberta. But we also play important roles in supporting our members and engaging with communities to increase understanding of air quality. So you are in good company. Next slide, please. So here are a few of the member benefits that we offer to municipalities. Expertise and experience of Airsheds is unparalleled. We have been in operation for 30 years and are part of the Alberta Airsheds Council alongside Alberta's other 9 airsheds as mentioned. Excuse me. So while industry membership is a regulatory requirement for many large emitters, there are also many smaller industries that choose to participate so they can access invaluable air quality expertise and resources and show their commitment to community well-being. So industry members do pay membership fees based on their annual emissions. Our community guide to wildfire smoke is a members only resource that we recently developed, which is designed to support Alberta's municipalities and other organizations in planning for and responding to wildfire smoke events. And our rural and urban municipalities are valued partners and they participate as Westcast members voluntarily. So by working closely with our communities, Westcast can play an integral role in addressing local air quality concerns. Okay, next slide, please. The town of Drayton Valley has been a longstanding Westcast member over many years, and we thank you for your continued support. We have had a continuous monitoring station operating within the town of Drayton Valley since 2006, and that's a photo of it there. So it was originally established to monitor the nearby pulp mill emissions, but has since been upgraded to be a regional monitoring and compliance station and also provides the AQHI for the Drayton Valley area. We also have a microsensor on the CTEC building that was installed in 2024. I believe that's the Clean Energy Technology Center, right?
Yep.
Next slide, please. So I'm going to now share a little bit of data from Drayton Valley. This is the AQHI data that was collected in 2025. This is a calendar plot. So first of all, the AQHI is a scale from 1 to 10 plus that denotes the health risk associated with air quality from low to very high risk. The AQHI is calculated from the data at the Drayton Valley Station. And you derive from the 3 pollutants: fine particulate matter, ozone, and nitrogen dioxide. So when we look at the calendar plot, we can see that throughout the year, Drayton Valley experienced really good air quality, primarily in the low risk range. That's the blue colors. We do see some moderate air quality days in February, as well as smoke events that occurred in June and September. Those will be the red colors there. So the AQHI data that we are seeing provides an important baseline for understanding local conditions, supporting preparedness, and guiding decision-making. The data also highlights many good days of air quality and clear sky, which is an important part of the story. Next slide, please. So at Westcast, we offer a full suite of air quality services designed to support industry, government, and community partners across operations, assessment, and public engagement. So these cost recovery services are available at competitive prices for both members and non-members. We offer air quality operations and monitoring services. We can design, deploy, and maintain monitoring systems for air quality measurement, along with meteorological monitoring and data services. Our data team can also provide air quality assessment and modeling, provide expert guidance, and defensible science for permitting, planning, and emergency response. Our communications team, that includes myself and Yvonne, can help make air quality understandable, actionable, and meaningful to the public. So from outdoor event planning to public education, internal training, we can help bridge that gap between the technical air quality data and real-world decisions. So one of our community initiatives that we've undertaken is our AQHI Cloud Lights. And this is a tool that we use to share information on about air quality in public settings. If you go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more information about that. So we are continuously expanding our Cloud Light program. How it works is the data that's collected at one of the continuous monitoring stations is streamed to the light, and it changes color according to the AQHI. So we partner with local organizations like municipal libraries, friendship centers, schools, and rec centers across the airshed to host these lights that represent the AQHI. And they're useful to help community members make informed decisions about air quality and whether or not they participate in outdoor activities. So the Drayton Valley Municipal Library was actually the first venue to receive a cloud light in May 2023. Next slide, please.
I think we're one behind, maybe.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
That's us.
Prompting. That was you guys get. So that's the cloud light. That's in Drayton Valley. List of
There we
all
go,
rivers.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what else do we do beyond monitoring? We do have a robust education and outreach program and engage with our members in a variety of ways. So 2025 was a milestone year for Westcast. We celebrated 30 years of environmental stewardship and science-based air quality monitoring in West Central Alberta, and we actually held that event in Drayton Valley. We attend many of our members' events throughout the year and share information about air quality. We have free air quality educational resources available for teachers, our Clean Air webinar series, monthly newsletters, and many other air quality resources available on our website. We can work with our member municipalities to assist with siting of microsensors to optimize municipal air quality network. And we can also provide support for climate resilience planning and resources to help meet actions such as through education awareness. We also have a really great data portal that features interactive live air quality data and user guides. Next slide, please. So I'd also like to mention that we will be hosting our annual general meeting for members and public event on Clean Air Day, and we will be providing more details soon. And last slide, please. So thank you. In closing, the 2023 and 2024 wildfire seasons really showed us how important public education and preparedness are when it comes to air quality. So we have expanded our outreach through awareness campaigns, better online data, stronger community partnerships, and by adding AQHI to the public-facing content. So we remain focused on expanding monitoring, building partnerships, and supporting data-driven decisions to protect residents and visitors. And we look forward to our continued work with the town of Drayton Valley. So thank you very much for that. Again, my apologies for the technical difficulties. My computer is still doing weird things on this side.
Nope, all good. It worked out just fine. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? Comments? Yeah, Councillor Clark.
Thank you for the presentation. Couple questions. Looking at so the membership is one thing. Do you have partnerships with any sort of post-secondary institutions? I kind of feel like there's a ton of data you're collecting here, and there's probably some potential use for it in a post-secondary institution.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Yes, so West Central Airshed is also sister airshed with Alberta Capital Airshed here in Edmonton region. And together we work with NAIT, the University of Alberta, primarily. We have worked with Northwest College in the past as well. On Alberta Capital Airshed, we actually have instructors from both NAIT and U of A that sit on our board. And the two airsheds work really closely together. Yvonne, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that's good. Thank you, Selena.
Okay, perfect. And then just one other question. So you guys collect the data, where does the data go? Is it shared with like Environment Canada? Is it, does it go to those sorts of places to help inform them of local air quality?
Yeah, so when you're actually seeing the AQHI for Drayton Valley anywhere on Environment Climate Change Canada Alberta government website, that is coming from our monitoring station. So it streams live to those databases, and they're calculating the AQHI on their end. And then we are also reporting monthly reports to them as well for Alberta government.
Awesome, thank you.
I do have a question about the calendar. When it's kind of that gray, that was meaning that it's like really low, or was it not able to read that day? What does it mean when it's gray?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, gray just means it was offline that day. So it would probably have been offline for calibration. So that occurs once a month. That's when they're going in and doing the maintenance. There may have been other times when maybe one parameter was offline and the AQHI wasn't be able to calculate it. But yeah, gray just means there was no data for that day available.
Okay. And then in terms of the February, do you guys do sometimes analysis on, like, I would expect that more in the summer if we're getting smoke from our neighboring provinces or things happening around here, but February seems kind of interesting.
So in the winter, what we're seeing are temperature inversion. So we have kind of more stagnant air at the surface that's trapping air pollution closer to the surface. In the Edmonton region, we have very often in the moderate region in the winter time, we'll see a lot more yellow in the winter than in the summer, ironically. So that's like what I would assume is happening in February in Drayton Valley is that we were seeing a temperature inversion in the area, stagnant air conditions.
Interesting. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's great that we have this here and we're able to check in. I think sometimes you take it for granted when your lungs work great and you don't have to think about it, but I do have a friend who has lung issues and is continually monitoring to see what's going on because it really does affect her going out. So I'm appreciative of it. Thank you. All right. If there's no further questions or comments, we will say thank you for joining today and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for your
so much
time.
for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. We have one more presentation. Does anyone need a quick break before we jump in? You're good? Okay. Well, then we have stars here. So Glenda is here joining us today. So come on down. We're getting all the knowledge. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Is this working? Okay.
If it's green, it's good. Yeah.
I'm pleased to see all of you and meet you and look forward to working with your council as we move ahead. I'm Glenda Farndon. I'm the Senior Municipal Relations Liaison for STARS for Alberta and British Columbia. I've been with STARS for 20 years, and I'm out of the Grand Prairie area. I'm one of the original remaining people that actually helped start the Grand Prairie base to serve northern residents, so STARS is very near and dear to my heart. And so I'm very pleased to be able to start to annually, bring you information and updates to keep your council well informed and just have this opportunity to build a solid relationship as we move forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So on this first slide, STARS is the best hope if you find yourself in the worst critical situation. Last year, December 1st, marked STAR's 40th anniversary of serving Albertans. More than 63,000 missions flown in that time, and more importantly, that we have always maintained a charitable model, meaning that there is no bill to the patient. None of that is possible without partnership. So we thank you very much for joining our municipal program and becoming a partner with STARS. So Dr. Powell, Dr. Greg Powell, he was the most visionary, exemplary critical care physician, possibly worldwide, highly decorated. He had the vision when a young woman bled to death and left a newborn baby and a new husband with no mother because she could not reach tertiary care in time from a southern Alberta rural area. This was the vision and really how STARS was born. Unfortunately, before we could have Dr. Powell celebrate with us for the 40th anniversary celebrations on April 30th last year, we lost Dr. Powell, and it was very devastating to our team. As we move forward, though, we are committed to carrying on his legacy for the next 40 years, for our children and our grandchildren and those generations yet to come. So we are now under the new leadership of Dr. John Fro. He is the new president and CEO of STARS moving forward. Dr. Fro is not new to STARS. He has been with the organization for 13 years. Previously, he was the chief medical officer for all 6 bases across Western Canada. We have bases in Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Regina, Edmonton, Calgary, Grand Prairie, and we serve Eastern Corridor of BC. So we find ourselves again under the leadership of an exemplary critical care physician, and we feel rest assured that we are in good hands. On the financial side, the Numbers are up for the operational costs of 3 bases in Alberta, roughly $12.2 million operational costs per base, so $36.6 million a year. We do have government funding block funding of $15 million per year from Alberta Health Services. This represents 41% of our operational costs, leaving 59% that must continue to be fundraised. So we are still doing the heavy lifting of continuing to support our mission. Of course, through donations, fundraising, and our beloved Alberta Lottery. The lottery was down a bit this year as well, but we're all seeing that across the board. The lottery usually represents about $11 to $12 million per year net, so almost paying for 1 base in Alberta each year. So it's really important that the general public understands when they are continuing to support us every year that collectively it is a significant value. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This is the interior of our H145. We have 10 brand new H145s to carry us forward for generations to come. It is equipped with the highest standards of very highly specialized equipment. It is an airborne intensive care unit environment. And all helicopters are equipped identically, because all of our assets, they move around, and sometimes crews come from other bases to fill in when needed. And so it's really important that the working environment is identically the same all the time, no matter which helicopter you are in, when you are dealing with time-dependent situations. 80% of our mission is all for cardiac, vehicle incident, medical, which includes stroke, as well as trauma patients. So everything very highly critical that we deal with every day. We were the very first in Canada, in North America, to start carrying universal blood on board. We're very proud to continue to be a world leader in innovation. With carrying blood on board, we used to carry 2 units of universal blood. This is blood that can be accepted by any one of us. Now, because we have seen so many high-level, high-risk patients that are at risk of bleeding out, that we are now carrying 4 units of universal blood on board. Also, once again, we were the first leader in innovation to start bringing the massive hemorrhage control to Alberta. So this was just a couple of years ago. It's called fibrinogen. It is a special medication for these very high-risk patients that after we've given the first 2 units of blood, so they have something to build on, fibrinogen helps these patients to build blood clots. So then that way they're not at risk, while we can give them the follow-up with an extra 2 units of blood while we're en route to tertiary care. This is a game changer. It's a life-saving measure, especially when we are answering to very vast remote areas where there's nothing except the fact that we have this intensive care unit environment and we have the blood on board and now the fibrinogen. We also carry the thrombolytics on board as well for heart attack and stroke. It's important to know that we are in, we have our transport physicians available in our emergency link center, the dispatch center. They're available 24/7. So they're doing a lot of background work while we are responding. So lots of different areas where STARS is involved, even though you don't really know that. And that includes like setting up for the thrombolytics. It requires that you must have that patient CAT scan first. So they can set up wherever is in the nearest hospital with a CAT scanner so we can go directly there, CAT scan the patient to ensure that it is the type of stroke or heart attack that requires the thrombolytic drugs. As well, as I told you next year, I will be bringing you a solid overview of some of the very highly specialized equipment that we carry on board. And also remembering that this is not included in operational costs. This is over and above what we fundraise for and reach out to individual donors as well as corporate sector to help fund all of the highly specialized equipment. It's another important factor is that STARS is borderless. All of our helicopters and all medical crew cross all borders across Western Canada. Especially important for mass casualty incidents. We did respond like last June in Banff to the rock slide incident. Over the last 5 to 6 years, there's been several really serious, traumatic, multi-casualty incidents all across Western Canada in all of the provinces we serve. And we've been able to provide interprovincial multiple helicopter response at each one of those incidents. This is a 5-year overview for missions for the town of Drayton Valley as well as within Brazeau County. So a total of 100 missions flown within your immediate area in the last 5 years. Now, when we drill down to Drayton Valley itself, you average about 14 critical interfacility transfers each year from your local hospital, as well as about 3 scene calls per year that are in or near your immediate area of Drayton Valley. So the majority of all the missions that are flown within the Brazeau County area are for your area, and that's an important factor. Scene calls, as well as search and rescue, are all coded to the nearest community. So sometimes they will be coded to a community that may be in your neighboring municipality, but we use actual landing location in order to identify that it did occur within Brazeau County boundaries. Critical care is a very important aspect, especially for rural hospitals. And we now, utilizing the best and the latest in technology, can also provide virtual care. So we are much more than just rapid transport. We have the opportunity now, it is a secure link that we can provide to any of the hospitals that would call in that they are in a trauma situation or something that, maybe they need to intubate a patient. They don't do that every day, we do. And so if for some reason the helicopter is not able to respond physically, maybe we're out on another mission when another call comes in from one of your, from your rural hospital, then our transport physicians, again, they're in the Link Center 24/7, so they can provide virtual care. Provide this special link where your physicians and nurses can show our critical care physicians the condition of the patient, show them the patient, provide medical as well as procedural guidance if they may need to help to provide instruction on how to intubate a patient. So this is another game changer in the fact that now together we are enhancing rural health care by being able to provide critical care whether we're there physically or not.
Do they have to go through Alberta Health Services to access that? Like, would the doctors here connect with Alberta Health Services who connect with you?
No, they can just call the Link Center, and then it's provided, that special link is provided to them, and they can talk directly with our transport physicians.
Nice.
So there's also an international simulation competition. This is a very highly rigorous worldwide competition each year for like helicopter EMS services. And we have participated for 23 years now. STARS always hosts our own internal competition at each one of our bases to come up with a team of 2 from each base that will come to Calgary and compete against each other for the opportunity and the honor to actually represent STARS internationally on the world stage. In the 23 years that we have competed in this rigorous competition, our STARS team have placed top 3 in the world all 23 years. And last year, once again, for the 9th time, our STARS team took first place. So we feel very grateful for the partnerships that we have to continue our service, and very proud to bring you the highest level of critical care in Alberta. There's reasoning behind why STARS is the dedicated critical care provider in 3 provinces in Western Canada, those provinces that we operate bases. So this is going to be a little bit of a series to explain to you where we are with municipal funding. So first, the gray areas would show those municipalities that have come on board, but at the less than $2 minimum per capita that we request. But they are working on gradual proposals through, their council term that they would reach that particular level and be at least at the minimum $2 per capita. Now, the teal and the navy blue areas you see, which represent the majority of the entire province, are all regional leaders. This includes the town of Drayton Valley. So you are currently at a minimum $2 per capita. We thank you very much for coming on board and joining 95% of the province that is supporting STARS in the fact that they are not supporting us as a charitable model. They are supporting us as an essential service and an extension of emergency protective services that are provided for their residents. So you can see that it is very much a vast, united effort that everyone is doing a little something. We have 3 left that are in white that are not currently supporting, but anything that's navy blue or teal, they are long-term supporters. The teal represents 9 provincial leaders. These municipalities are providing a significant amount of fixed rate support each year. We are a line item in their budget each year, and they have surpassed either a $500,000 level or more than $1 million level that their logos are on a STARS helicopter. This year, we will also welcome 3 more provincial leaders. Special areas, as well as Mountain View County and Foothills County, will all be having a special logo unveiling and join the provincial leaders. So currently, outlined in the red, these are complete regional partnerships. This means that every one of these counties or municipal districts that are outlined in red, that there is solid, complete partnership within their boundaries. Every town and village that lies within their boundaries is a supporter of STARS. And Brazeau County, with you joining, will be very close. We have 1 more that will be very close to becoming a complete regional partnership as well. So once again, we thank you very much. In closing, I would like to say thank you so much for joining our municipal initiative that provides sustainable funding each year. This is so important because we have no control over what the mission volume is going to be. The mission volume continues to rise and increase. In the beginning of STARS, the very first base in Calgary, we flew 50 to 60 missions per year. Last year, across the 6 bases, we flew almost 3,700 missions last year alone. It is a united effort in order to ensure that we are still here for our children and our grandchildren and providing an essential service at no cost to the patient. We thank you for your $2 per capita commitment this year. We would like to ask you to join many of the regional leaders that I showed you that are all on a fixed rate of support so that we do not see fluctuation like in population census and those types of things, because it really does affect what we can count on. So we're asking you if you would just round up slightly a little bit to the $14,600 fixed rate per year. It's still based on the minimum $2 per capita, but I would like to ask you as well for your council term. Many of the regional leaders are either on a standing motion, meaning we are a line item in their budget each year, or that they go on a 4-year pledge per council term. So I'm asking for your consideration of this so that we have that full sustainability and welcome you as a partner. Again, this photo, it really says it all. We will provide critical care anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know there are a lot of families in our community who have used STARS for sure, so it's, really important. Do you have any kind of metrics on how many calls you can't do because you don't have the resources or enough helicopters, or prioritizing kind of what the true need is versus what you actually service?
We're working on changing some of the data set right now so that we can more isolate, how many missions were aborted, like how many calls actually come in.
Yeah.
Like our link center, actually, they field about 105 emergency calls per day.
Yeah, I believe
So
it.
then many of those, we are very closely connected to Alberta Health Services and their fixed wing components as well as ground ambulance. We have monitors that show where every ground ambulance is. So sometimes ground ambulance would be sent because they are in closer proximity. If the patient is deteriorating rapidly, then lots of times we have rendezvoused at a rural hospital helipad with ground ambulance, so we're kind of doing the Newton's cradle thing where coming from two different directions to meet halfway in the middle and still saving precious time. So there's lots of different components that I'm hopeful next time I will start to have some metrics for you on how many were aborted in your area, how many total calls actually came in, this type of thing, but we currently don't have that right now other than our mission stats and the interfacility transfers. Now, I include that for all, even counties and areas, because it's really important to understand that anytime that your local ground ambulance has responded, because they are the nearest and available to respond, lots of times once they have been delivered to the local hospital, but if it is of a critical nature, then STARS is still called. And so then that really represents what's actually happening throughout your area. And the missions, the statistics show that you have a very busy hospital here as well, averaging about 14 critical incidents per year that we must come and get that patient to a higher level of care.
Yeah, we're only really an hour from the city when you think of it. So if there's almost once a month or more that you're having to come, that's a lot of critical time for sure. So.
It is true. And just the fact of, again, we're bringing the blood on board. That helps that for smaller rural hospitals, we're not depleting your hospital's supply. So, and we're bringing the fibrinogen, we're bringing the thrombolytics, we're bringing lots of different aspects. We have, like handheld ultrasound, for rapid diagnostics, things like that. We have a lot of high-level equipment as well. So always remembering that critical care, especially when we come to work with your physicians and nurses, is really an important aspect that it's a team effort, and we're able to work together, and it continues to, evolve in the fact that we now have virtual care as well. So we continue to innovate and find ways that we can be bringing critical care in all different aspects to the rural centers.
For sure. Councillor Jeffries?
Good morning. Thank you. A couple of things. I'm still waiting to win my STARS lottery.
Well, we did have the draw, so. But we appreciate that you're a supporter.
Okay. Just a couple questions. We have the CT scanner at the hospital. Are you using that by bringing patients here? Is that one of the reasons why we?
I'll have to look into that. I don't know for sure, because I know there are several designated centers
Yes.
that would be the call centers, and I'm not sure that
Okay, I'm curious
Drayton
as to
Valley is
whether we would be or
on there
Yeah.
for that.
Okay. And I'll just mention that I'm very proud to be a part of our Drayton Valley Community Foundation. And we've been able to make significant contributions every year. So I'm very happy to be able to say that. And I believe that we probably represent a significant amount of the dollars that are coming from our area.
Yes, for sure. Like you have a very successful golf tournament each year in this area, as well as your foundation, and events is a significant part. We are built by community for community. And events, we have some very long-standing events that have been a significant part of that sustainability each year, of that 59% of operational costs that we still have to fundraise. It speaks volumes of the united effort, and always remembering there's no bill to the patient.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Just another comment. I had the opportunity this fall to visit the site in Edmonton.
Yes.
The airport. That is an amazing opportunity. So if anyone ever has that chance, it's well worth it.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to mention that. If you, as a council, find yourselves that you are going to be at a conference or something in Edmonton area, and be all together, please let me know in advance as much as you can, and then we will set up a special base tour for your council so that you can see, because really, honestly, seeing is believing.
Guys, you good? Do you have any trouble with staffing? Or does everyone want to be on the team?
Well, we have had, there's been challenges, Alberta Health Services as well, a lot of challenges, lots of long-term, our 30-plus year veterans for nurses, paramedics, and pilots, that are retiring now. So that continues to be a challenge. And we have very high-level requirements in order to become a part of STAR's crew. We're fortunate that on the pilot side, we have most of our pilots are ex-military because they have the amount of hours that is required. They already have night vision goggle capability, these types of things that are requirements as well. And they've seen the world and they've been away from their families, and now we can offer a schedule, a set schedule where they can have family time and this type of thing. So we're fortunate in that sense. We can't compete with the commercial side of things because we are a charitable model, but it somehow is appealing to many of these areas where they want to have a set schedule. On the medical side, it requires a minimum 5 years ICU and emergency room experience. Then they must go through our STARS Academy, which is another rigorous, about 5 months worth of work in order to, they have to complete that as well. And then they fly for several months, buddy system with a crew member before they're actually a full-fledged STARS crew member. So we've had some people that they were, STARS was the epitome, it was the goal. And we have a couple of paramedics that, they kept coming back, needing other education, needing other things. And it took 5 or 6 years before they actually are now full-fledged STARS aeromedical crew. So that's, that really speaks volumes, I think, to what we are and what we do. And it takes a certain special kind of person.
For sure.
Oh, if I may, I wanted to enlighten you about something else.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a very special day at Grand Prairie Base. 2 of our air medical crew, as well as the pilots, of course, we had to respond from the Grand Prairie Base for the very devastating event at Tumbler Ridge. And we were there just more for providing some critical care expertise to help get the patients ready for the fixed wing to get to the 2 most critical patients to Vancouver, and then help a very overtaxed rural community hospital with what they were still dealing with for many hours, right? So we had special visitors, 4 special visitors from BC yesterday at the Grand Prairie Base in order to provide they have within BC EHS the highest honor, a Medal of Honor, that's only been given out 6 times and never been given outside of BC province. And they awarded it to our air medical crew that were on there and that helped. So it was a very emotional day, and but very proud moment that our crew could be there to help in such a devastating situation.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Finn, do you have any comments? You're good? Nice. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will definitely have deliberations and budget
Yes.
as we move forward. So I'm sure administration will be in communication if there's any updates or.
For sure. We really appreciate if you would consider our request.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I
Thank
brought
you
you
for
some
coming.
calendars and the latest newsletters as well. So lots of great information. You can find this digitally as well on our STARS website. Thank you again for your time. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to working with you in future years to come.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will call a 14-minute, we call it 10 minutes, but it's gonna be 14 minutes break, and we'll meet back at 10:40. Okay, well, welcome back. We are going to start at 7, which is business arising from the delegations. We will need a motion to adopt the auditor's report. Anyone like to make that motion? Please, Counselor?
I move that council accept the 2025 audited financial statements for the town of Drayton Valley as presented by Mr. Phil Dirks of Metrics Group LLP.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I will call the motion. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And we will move into our decision items. So 8.1, we have our 2025 Q4 financial report. This says Connor.
Yeah,
you
my
ready?
account is apparently in hold. They're like, you know, you're no longer here at Nick's. You don't get a name anymore.
That's funny.
I am not the new Connor. I still Elvira. Thank you. Yeah, so as municipal government best practice, financial reporting is presented to council on at least a quarterly basis. This report serves to update council on the fourth quarter financial budget to actuals, important financial balances, a summary of capital projects closed and carried, as well as the overall financial health of the town of Drayton Valley. It does say fourth quarter, but it is includes all quarters up to the fourth quarter, inclusive of the fourth quarter. So if you look at your first page, it's the formatting that you're familiar with. And so at the top, we have property taxes. So the property tax revenues did come in lower than what we budgeted. And the reason for that is we had multiple reassessments last year that ended up decreasing that tax revenue. For franchise fees, we budget off of what Fortis and ATCO project for their volume on their end. And so that's just wasn't accurate in 2025, so it's slightly lower there. And then in other revenue, we were actually, we closed the year at higher than what we expected. And there's a couple reasons for that. Interest income actually surpassed the budget once again. So interest income, which includes our interest on our bank account, normal bank account, as well as our investments, came in at 675,000, which was really great. I think we budgeted 500,000 or 600,000, I think. And nope, 600,000. Of that money, only 550 is here and the rest is allocated to projects. So how that works is similar to how we're going to switch that reserves are going to be earning interest and growing on their own. Our capital projects that have grants are deferred revenue from LGFF, CCBF, and LGFF, MSI, and CCBF. So the three grants from the government. One, MSI is going away, but it's still relevant now because we still have funds sitting there. Those, every single year we hold money that we haven't spent, we have to allocate interest. So we calculate what we earned, what our rate was throughout the year, the average bank rate, and we assign that much interest to those pots. And so those will go to, obviously, to capital projects. So of the amount, of the whole amount budgeted, 500,000, 550 stayed here and just about 100, just over 100 went to those other accounts. And then we also have some other revenues in there. One was the golf tournament revenue was in there. The expenses came out of the council line. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we had some various grants, like small grants that were in there. So when it was all said and done, we were a little bit behind budget in this pot, in this general revenue section. Moving on to general administration. So in the revenue line for general administration, it's business licenses, internal finance fees. So we charge for FCSS and the landfill, because they're sort of its own operations, we charge a fee for finance to do work there. The landfill, it used to be its own entity, which is probably why we started that practice. FCSS, it's important because it's government funded, and so we need to make sure that we're assigning those costs there. For expenses, so council expenses, it looks like they were over, but 96,000 of it was for the funds we raised through the golf tournament revenues. We sent it out, and so if we take that out, you're actually, the council was actually under budget, which is fairly in line on the fourth year of a council term. People stop doing as many meetings and conferences that final year of council, so it's kind of where we would expect it to be. For general administration, it is under budget, so there's a couple of things. So some general HR expenses were lower, IT projects, ERP projects, there's just some projects that aren't quite done yet, as well as some vacancies, just the way the vacancies fell into place. So with the CAO position and such, not a huge amount, so some savings there. Moving on to protective services, we have, at the top, we have policing. So that includes RCMP and our community policing. I'll make a note to see if we could separate it out next time. For revenues, it's not a significant amount. Most of it is CPO is doing the fine. So we have an increase. We get some grants from the provincial government for policing every year. That's in there, and then all the fines collected through the RCMP and through CPO, our CPOs. Some of this revenue earned here ended up flowing through our net surplus into the community safety fund, because the Travis fines are put right into the community safety fund, and then some expenses are allocated out of that via the committee. And then it comes to council for final approval, I believe is how that works. And it was just over 50,000 that was transferred to Travis, to the Community Safety Fund in 2025. For fire, we earned extra money in 2025 due to deployments and several grants that the fire department got. You also will see that the expenses are also higher. We'll talk about that in a bit. And we also got, for disaster and emergency, we had got a Red Cross grant. And bylaw, we initially had not planned to report everything under one community policing because we don't have bylaw specific officers. But then there was some bylaw revenues reported here. Under expenses, the RCMP, the policing is a little bit higher. That's mostly because of the back pay. We finally paid for that. I'm hoping it doesn't happen again with the new union negotiations, but yeah, that's how it goes. So what Mr. Phil Dirks was talking about is that the entire back pay, we had budgeted it through essentially reserve transfers. So I had set it aside there, but which should have been recognized as soon as we knew it was to be paid. So it would have been the 400,000 should have been realized like in 2022 or something, or whenever, maybe not 22, I think it was 23. They started telling us about it in 22, but the actual amount came in like 2023. So that's what he was referring to. And so for fire, yes, you see the increase in the expenses. So we have increase in wages due to employments there, and the net revenue earned was put in, so we cost shared with the county, so they got their share and we got our share, and our share went into the fire reserve for replacement of equipment, both because obviously it's wearing the equipment, and two, as a way to raise funds for future fire equipment replacement. For disaster and emergency, that is, the overage there is due to that. So if some of council will remember that initially when we went into the discussions regarding the DRP grant, the disaster recovery program, they had said that the amount that the city took care of the evacuation center, and that the province was going to pay the city directly, and it wasn't even going to be coming to us, it wasn't going to flow through our program, anything like that. And then we found out right at the end of last year that in fact they did send us an invoice, a $1.9 million invoice. So we said, hey, we're not paying this until you pay us, right? We're not paying Edmonton until the government pays us. And they did end up paying us that whole amount, which then we were able to pay to the city of Edmonton. However, that did end up flowing through a DRP program, and that's only 90% funded, meaning that we had to pay 10% of that invoice out of our own pocket. And so we finally wrapped up the whole DRP project with the county. The county was the lead on it, which is amazing. I think maybe council should take them for supper or something, or administration. Maybe we'll have to take them for supper, because that was a huge project. But that's all wrapped up. We paid 128,000, which, if you can do the math, is not quite 10% of the 1.9 million. However, we did have some credits. Just once the grants all reconciled, there was some money owing back to us, so it was only 128. So if we hadn't had owed that money, then we would have gotten some money back from wages and stuff from back in the day. So that's all wrapped up, so we shouldn't see any more unexpected things. Yeah. And moving on to transportation, so this is.
I'm just going to check if there are any questions.
Yes, of
before
course.
we move on. We get too far with those three. Everyone's good? Okay, carry on.
So I apologize, I can sometimes rush through things. Transportation, so this is Public Works, Road, Street, Sidewalk, Storm, Airport is in there as well. For common services, that you'll wonder why there's a debit amount in a revenue line. I mean, Brandon's wondering for sure. Councillor Bohm, excuse me. That's where the loss on disposal is recorded. The reason for that specifically in 2025 is that years ago we started building a training center, a fire training facility out at the airport, and we had it until a project is entirely completed and in use. We don't amortize it. It sits in work in progress on our financial statements. Anyways, and that was just sitting there every year. We're like, no, we need an approval from council. There's something needed to finish this, and it just wasn't happening. And I mean, Tom tried all kinds of things to try to get a new one going, try to get some equipment from there to actually be able to use it, like some of the stuff that was initially set up there, get it moved somewhere else to be able to use it. But at the end of the day, at this point, there's very little value to that, and it's just been not that the fire department hasn't gotten value out of it. I'm sure that they've done things, but from a financial statement purpose, we had it sitting, waiting for it to be final, and it's not, so we're expensing it. And so that's where common services is typically where our gains or losses on sale is, because it's usually equipment, and so that's why it's captured in that line there. There's some other smaller equipment like gains that we from selling, but that was the big one. Road, streets, and sidewalks. So we transferred, I want to say 90,000 from the reserves into here to cover the overage because of snow and ice. So that's following, it's coming under this line, which is why that's over. It's because the expense is over, so we're making up for it in a reserve transfer, technically not an income statement amount for financial statement purposes. It just reported differently, but for this, I think it's important for council to be able to see. Airport, we did that extra runway work this year. So it was approved, I think, around this time last year, actually. And it cost, I believe it was 60,000, and the county, so it was done, it was approved after the budget via special motion, which is why it's different, why there's a variance to budget. And so that amount was completed. We paid the invoice, the county paid us for half of it. So that's why the airport cost share there, the revenues is higher, because the county paid for their normal operating as well as this repair that happened. But you also have that associated increase in the expense that our portion of that. And then for expenses, everything is very in line. There is really nothing to note, which is, I mean, $90,000 was transferred from reserves for snow and ice. Of course, that was over. Really, on the grand scheme of things, not in a crazy amount. But when it comes down to it, at the bottom there, the difference is about 264,000. A lot of that was because of writing off that fire training facility that's there. So on the grand scheme of things, transportation, usually our biggest, that's one I'm always keeping track on with Shelley the most, because it can be a little bit more unpredictable. So very well done there. And then moving on to utilities, which is the second one. So we have water and sewer. So sewer is very close to what we budgeted. Water is higher. And so there was the budgeting wasn't quite accurate when we were increasing. We were looking at the increase in use and the rates, and it just didn't flow through the way we expected. So if I'm looking at our revenue we earned in 2025 compared to 2024, it's very similar, but for whatever reason, when we were doing the 2025 budget, the 24 actuals hadn't been finalized and the budget's just too low there. Great on us, it's a good thing, but yes, that's the reason there. And waste coming in at almost exactly what was budgeted. We weren't sure when we did those increases back-to-back years, not in 26, but 24 and 25, how that would actually, what the end result would be, because sometimes there's that magic number of if you increase fees to a certain amount, it's going to increase revenue, but then sometimes if you increase too much, the actual usage decreases, and then that's the balance we find. So it's great. And I think in 26, we didn't change them at all because we had changed them so much the 2 prior years. So I think we're right on with fees and that with the waste facility. So it's great, the landfill. Moving on to expenses. The water is under because we didn't have the water distribution loan. So we budgeted to have that loan start in 2025 and we'd start paying it, but the project was delayed, meaning we didn't borrow on it, meaning we didn't have any debenture interest expense. So we were saving some there, and then we had some supplies that for water and sewer, I believe, we have Shelley and the team buys a bunch of supplies, and then at year end, whatever wasn't used, we put to inventory. And so sometimes she budgets on cash and says, well, I'm gonna spend this much. And then we use more or less of it one year, so it can fluctuate a little bit year over year in terms of supplies. But most of it, the savings was because of that debenture interest that we didn't have in 2025. For sewer, we had some vacancies, trying to fill positions, like term positions and stuff like that. So there was a little bit of savings there. And then we also, interestingly, for utilities, like our utility expenses, like power and gas and water. We had some facilities save money in that area and some were over budget. So when I looked at all our utilities, overall, we pretty much were bang on for 2025, but this is an area where there was some savings, a big use area. So sometimes it's an overwhelming amount, and usage-wise, it's just hard to budget sometimes, but that's why there's some savings there. And also some repairs. So repairs for the sewer, it's one repair can be like 50 grand. And so we have to budget something there to make sure that we have money to repair. And then some years we just don't need as much as other years. But overall, of our entire surplus, almost 600,000 was utilities. So that's an important note because we're going to talk a little bit about it later, just in terms of some changes I want to make to the reserve policy. Community services also surprisingly well. So sorry, I was talking recreation. Yes, community services did well as well. I got a little excited ahead of time here. So family and community support, that's our FCSS. It's very in line, like the government funds, and then we have to match by 20%, I think we have to put in. And so it doesn't fluctuate very much. We did have some extra revenue. So we can, in the past, we've been able to supplement it a little bit via like home care services and stuff like that. So the revenues and expenses are both a little bit higher than budgeted, but they net out to the contribution that the town is required to make, being that we're in an agreement for FCSS money. Community services, so the reason why this increase is because we have extra unsheltered grants. So we got more funding this year to have full-time security. And I believe we got a little bit more funding for our outreach worker as well. And so if you look over year from 2022 to 2025, how much those grants have increased, it just shows how much investment the province is making into community type services here in Drayton Valley. So it's good to see. ECDC, it's kind of a unique one. We did the funding model changed in 2025. And so we did end up having more of our deficit covered than we expected, which is great. So that's why that revenue is higher. Affordable housing also brought in more revenue, less vacancy. So we have like a vacancy rate that we apply, and it was great. That exceeded our expectations. And that's the revenue. So a lot of the additional revenue is the grants from the government. Moving down to expenses, nothing really to note under the first couple. And then under community services, a little bit higher because we have more grants coming in, we spent more. And ECDC, the costs were actually slightly lower. I should note too, with ECDC, that Ms. Bernice Taylor does a ton of work in the community trying to get grants for things. And it's always impressive how much work she does in that area. So some of that increase is also because she did have lots of donations that she used up in 2025. And then affordable housing, the costs were a little bit higher, but it still netted a surplus, which we have not had for many years, a surplus enough to cover the debenture payments and put some in reserve. So really, really great work there by the team. And that wraps up community services. So we have a cost of less than we expected. Planning and development.
Question before we move forward.
Sure.
Is it safe to say, based off this chart, that of the last 4 years, 3 of them we've lost money on the cemetery?
Yes.
Not enough people are dying in this.
Well,
Yeah.
let's look at the other end of it. I'm wondering if there's something we could look at coming forward in the next year's budget that would address that.
Yeah, so for cemetery, we try to be in line with what other municipalities are charging for cemeteries. And so it's always tricky to line that up with. I know for maybe 2023, we had lots of revenue there. It is not even that the expenses are, they did, if you look at the expenses, we had 49,000, 44,000, 35,000, and then 40,000. Expenses are staying the same. Rates are increasing marginally like other communities. It's the volume that's changing at an unpredictable rate.
Right, but there should be perpetual care, like
We do
there's-
have perpetual care, yeah, we do
Yeah,
put
on all those
perpetual care away,
pieces,
yeah.
so-
We charge perpetual care in every transaction, and that goes straight to reserves, yeah.
I get that, I'm just saying, again, it's like taxpayers are funding for the cemetery, which only certain people are selecting, they're purchasing plots
Yeah.
to use, so I think it should be close to cost recovery most
Yeah,
of the time.
yeah,
is all I'm
absolutely. It's always the goal
Yeah.
to be as close to cost recovery as we can, yeah. We can't, in this chart, what you cannot see is what we budgeted for the revenue. So we always budget for close to break even. 2025 was an unusual year. We had some extra work to do, but usually we do budget for cost recovery, just depending on if there's more people, like in 2021 and 22. 22 wasn't bad, 21, nobody was being,
It
it
was
was COVID.
purchasing plots.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're being used, people just
Yeah,
purchase
but people
them.
did both. People also at the same time were not buying plots. It was very interesting
Yeah.
series of events. Whereas there wasn't funerals being had, but there was also not plots being purchased that year. Because I think people didn't leave their house much, right? And they didn't come here to pick out their plot and stuff like that. So 2020 and 2021 were very unusual years. But as you can see, 22, so 23 was really high and then 24 was low. And so it's just interesting. But yes, we do always aim for cost recovery. So we can look at that more in more detail. So when you trend it over time, it shouldn't have an impact on the taxpayer.
Exactly,
One year
yes.
it may,
Yes,
but over time it shouldn't.
yeah, this is the reverse trend of what I'd like to
Yeah,
see. so-
yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Clark?
With respect to the ECDC, the debenture, is it done this year or next year?
Oh, I want to say 27 or 28.
Okay.
I'll get
I think
Connor to
it's
look it up.
20.
Sure, and that's to the tune of, is it 60,000 per year, or is it more than that?
I think it's 80. I think it's 80 a year.
Okay.
Yep. Not all of it is interest, but yes, it's all cash flow, impacting our cash flows, obviously. So that would be great to alleviate
Yeah.
there. And then council can make a decision of what to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah. As soon as Connor pulls it up, we'll confirm if it's 27 or 28, but it is coming up very close here.
Counselor Brooks?
Thank you. Just as far as ECDC goes, do the expenses include the maintenance of the building and that sort of thing, the man hours involved?
Yes.
That's all encompassing?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes, the only thing it does not include is the principal portion of the debenture. Yeah, because that's not an expense. That's it, moving
Okay.
on, all right. Planning and development, so, planning fees, yes, it's gonna be paid off in 2027, thanks Connor, the ECDC debenture. For planning, less permits, it's kind of all over the place as well. In 2022, you see a big one, that was the school. So you have really big years, we have really low years, exceptionally low in 2025. For economic development, we had some grants that we weren't expecting there, which is great. For grants, we only record what we've used. So everything else goes, this is a big part of the work that the auditor does, making sure that we're not accounting for grants in a year we're not using them to align the revenues with this expenses. And so there is more grants waiting to be used in 2026 there. Community Education Training Center, I broke this out this time just for better clarity, and that is more than we budgeted because we have that new, the space being used by a new lease by the school. And then education, this is a transfer from reserves. We brought less than 100 in from reserves because we didn't use 100,000, so we just brought in what we used. And then onto the expenses, so planning expenses were over budget by quite a bit. The contracted costs were much higher than the savings in wages, and we also spent 30,000 on a GIS software that was not budgeted for in 2025, which is accounting for that increase or overage. Other than that, no specific notes for ACTAV. The economic development expenses are higher than expected because we have grants that were used that we weren't budgeted for. And then the expenses at the CETC, a little bit lower than expected, but quite in line. For education, so a couple things there. We changed the whole structure, so essentially we don't have wages under education anymore. So that's just the bursary program. We used to have like an education coordinator, and some of the managers' wages were being recorded there and such. So some of this is vacancy, some of it is changing how we're reporting it. Promotions, the savings there is just the fact that the community grants were undersubscribed in 2025. So that was just under, as a whole, this department was just under what we budgeted for, which is great. Now moving on, any questions there?
Counselor Jeffries?
Just looking at the expenses under the training center, what does that 326,000 cover?
It's wages to run the CTC at the time, when we still had staff there. It's all repairs, maintenance, utilities for the CTC.
And do we still have staff there?
No, only for events. When we have events, there's a staff there, yeah. Parks, moving on to parks. So the Team Auction Center and Ricochet Oil Corp both brought in more revenue than expected. Yes, more ice time being booked at the Omniplex. Like, yeah, people were there. If you're ever at the Omniplex, there is always, TAC. There is always people there. It was a very, very busy year. And then Ricochet Oil, we continue to kind of change opening hours, expand, and that kind of stuff. So we have both the programming that's increasing the revenues and also some opening hour changes. But the increase in revenue for the Ricochet Oil Corp has an associated increase in expenses because with the pool, every hour costs us money to have it open because of how many staff are required. And that was the same at the old pool, but it's more at the new pool because of the amount of lifeguards that are required. So the expenses for Team Auction actually were a little bit under budget, and this is one of the centers that had a little bit of utility savings. Interesting. And they also had some vacancies, like they're trying to fill a position, and then Public Works would poach somebody, and then they'd try to fill a position again. No, you didn't? Yes, you did. That's how it goes. And but vice versa. It's not like it just goes one way, but I think it happened a few times in 2025. Yeah, so for the pool, we had just additional wage costs and some utility. This is where we had some utility savings, and was it gas? I think gas was over, electricity was under, but yes, so most of the increase in these costs were wages. But overall, an under budget cost us less than we expected. Oh, and one more note to make. So the county cost shares on this, and it's 1 year behind, so we calculate based on the prior year financial results. So sometimes that will throw it off year over year a tiny bit in terms of like the savings in that year. So sometimes our deficit will be lower aside from that, and then we'll get more revenues, and you're like, okay, wait, why? Because of the last year. So that's why that's happening there. The only thing under the operating contingencies is this is where we record amounts. So when we calculate our mill rates, we always have to account for over or under collection of school and seniors, like requisitions. So what ends up happening is we've charged or billed the community an amount, and we've shared it among all these people, and then 5 people's assessments will go down. And so now we have to, oh, hey, wait, they've paid too much. We have to now take it, redistribute it the next year. So there's a little bit of over that gets calculated anyway. That's what that is about, insignificant. Which means that we brought in $735,666 extra dollars over what we had budgeted in 2025. And per our new reserve policy, $220,700 will go to the tax stabilization reserve, $220,700 will go to the general capital reserve, $73,567 will go to the fire capital reserve, and the remaining will stay in unrestricted surplus. We'll talk a bit more about that. And yeah, that's, the one thing I wanted to note here is that I want to change something in the reserve policy where if water sewer has a surplus, that goes to water sewer reserves. We don't currently have that, something that as we're experiencing this, we're gonna improve that reserve policy. So I just wanted to make that note because that should remain with water sewer. And any questions before we move on? I do have another meeting in 15 minutes, so I'll speed things up a little bit from here.
Councillor Brooks?
Thank you. Just one question. When it comes to the Ricochet Aquatic Center, are the expense, is it the total expense, or is this or is it the cost shared expense?
It's a total expense.
Okay.
So the cost share revenue goes in the revenue line, but the expenses is the whole.
Yeah. So whatever that difference is gonna be, it's gonna be half that in the end,
Correct.
essentially. Okay, very good. Thanks.
Half less the debenture interest. Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the financial information. The receivables, as Phil had mentioned, all receivables are down from last year. Just means, usually it's a timing thing, a timing of when people pay their balances, taxes. It is due to more people signing up for TIP, so more people paying ahead of time, which is really great, a great move. We're gonna continue pushing TIP because I think it's good for us, it's good for clients. I mean, not everyone will want to do TIP, but I think a lot of people do want to, and it helps them manage their cash flows. For deferred revenues, we have a little bit of an increase because we still have some CCBF and LGFF funds waiting there to be used. We've been saving them for a couple projects, some road projects and the distribution project. So that's just a little bit higher than last year, and the debenture balance is up because we have a new 50th Ave loan. So we made payments throughout the year, which decreased the balance, and then we borrowed a little bit, so it increased a small amount. For bank balance, because we have a surplus, because our receivables are down, our bank balance is up. So a little bit more of our money is in cash rather than sitting in receivables compared to last year. Grants receivable, so I just always like to highlight some big grants that are receivable. So LGFF, 1.2 million. This one aggravates me because In the past, all you had to do is show them how you're gonna spend the money and they send you the money. Now with the LGFF, you have to spend a certain amount before they send you the next amount. And so it's frustrating because that interest that we were talking about, that it earns and gets allocated to those projects, that's not gonna happen in the same proportion as it was before. So it's frustrating, but one of the changes that, for some reason, I did not hear anyone talk about the whole time we were arguing and talking about LGFF, never came up. It just kind of slid under, it feels like, I don't know. Anyways, it feels from a council perspective, perhaps not that big of a deal. From my perspective, a big deal. And it should, yeah, give us the money, let us earn the interest. Now they're earning
interest
the
on $1 million
interest.
sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Councillor Clark, yeah.
Just to back up to the surplus allocation, so that's 735,666. What percentage of that is going into any sort, like, are you putting any of that into sort of bonds or anything like that, or?
Yeah, so we don't, the total surplus, the 735, what we do in terms of putting money in investments, so we have a combination, so we just switched to Scotiabank for investments, and we determine how much is investments based on cash flow needs. It generally follows, anything in reserves can be in investments because it means we don't need it for everyday operating, but it's not necessarily dollar for dollar. So we meet with them regularly and decide, like, hey, should we put more in or should we draw some out, depending on what the cash flow needs, project needs are. So I don't have an answer in terms of the exact amount. Yeah. And at the bottom there are the reserves I want to highlight. So we have the 11 million in reserves, like Phil mentioned, and you have heard me say that we're going to have 15 million. It means because I am considering that unrestricted surplus reserves. It means it can be used for things. It's just not dedicated into a reserve account. We want to have some money there because if we have a deficit one year, we don't have to tax for it again that next year, because that's what the legislation says you have to do if you don't have a way to cover it. And so we do want to leave some in there. Some years we spend some. So last year it took a deep dip from 7 million to 4. And it's because sometimes we use some for capital projects. Like when we budget for capital, we have grants, reserves, and other. Has to come from somewhere. And this is where, if there's money there, sometimes council has the ability to use that on some capital projects. And then moving on to the capital budget summary, lots of projects carrying.
I don't think you need to go line by line on this.
No,
sheet.
thank you. I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna highlight the closed ones, not highlight them, but only highlight the ones that are closed and over budget. So we closed the mobile equipment, and the reason it's over budget there is because we bought a couple of pieces of equipment that we technically funded through a budget Shelley had in operating. A couple trucks were purchased outside of what initially was approved there. For 50th Ave, it's less than 5%. That's really, really great news. It's less than 5% of the overall project cost, not what was remaining in 2025. If you're doing the math and calling me a liar, I'm not, I swear. It's less than 5% of the overall budget, which was over $6 million. And then at the bottom there, I just want to highlight that these are projects that were approved via special motion of council or motion of council outside of normal budgeting. I was going back and forth, if it was approved via motion, I could add it into the cost, but that's how I presented it for now. They're all funded. So the specialized vehicle was the new handy bus that was bought. They paid for it, just flowed through us. We own it, we paid the insurance on it. The AFRAX radios paid for by reserves. The CPO vehicle, at year end, the ESS grant was actually used to buy a trailer, and it's actually a capital, and it was moved through and it flowed through the CPO vehicle purchase line. And so the CPO vehicle was 100,000. The trailer was 17,000. And then of course the land acquisition. So that's it. And then the next page is all the projects from this list that are being carried to 2026. I've added it to the budget. There's a holistic budget of 2026 now. It means it doesn't have any other impact on funding. If you look at the balance there, it will say the 3 million and such. If you look on your financial statements, page 22, the list of reserves, the very first reserve is called carryover projects. I call it the capital fund. That is where the projects that have been approved and funded live in the meantime until that they are completed. So on that report of summary of project carry forwards, that balance, you can directly tie that to page 22 of the financial statements under the reserve sections, under the capital reserve called carryover projects. So again, what that is we've approved projects, we've funded them, they weren't completed. So we move that and it's sitting there, and that's how the next year when it's completed, the funds will move from there to the expenditures. And that is all for me. Any more questions?
Nope, you've bedazzled everyone.
Sounds good. I did want to make one more note. I wrote it down. We talked about the town of Gibbons and the auditor's requirements and, stuff like that. And one very important thing that council needs to remember is that the auditor can, the decisions to spend more money than you should always comes down to management and council. To keep borrowing when you shouldn't, you're within the limits, so you can say, hey, that's a bad idea, but they can't stop you from doing it. So that's just an important thing to note, is that you can keep spending if you want, and so you'll have different combinations of admin and councils that will have different levels of risk that they're willing to take. I just wanted to make a note of that. Not too important, but just that the auditor can say like, hey, like you're trending kind of high there, but doesn't stop you from making any decisions you want. I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, neutral. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, is there someone who would like to make a motion? Councillor Finn?
I motion that council accept the 2025 Q4 financial report as information.
Excellent. Any comments or debate? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. All right. Then we will move into our council representation on committee and community boards. Ms. Stone.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wheeler. Over the last month or so, council administration have received a number of requests from local community committees and organizations requesting council representation on their board. So far, we have received requests from the Drayton Valley Community Foundation, the Rural Wealth Creation Committee, and the Mayor's Task Force would like another member from the council to attend. So each appointment will be from now until the end of October, when we will have our regular organizational meeting of council. So the appointment is for a couple of months. And in the recommendations, we have some suggestions for appointments, but for council discussion.
Perfect. Yeah, we'd had some general input, but everyone was not there, so these are not set in stone at all. So we'll just take them one at a time, and if anyone is interested, please pat your head so we know you're interested. Yeah, for sure, Councillor Clark.
With respect to the Rural Wealth Creation Committee and the appointment of the mayor there, or proposed appointment of the mayor there, is the mayor not ex officio on any council or any related committee to council?
So my understanding would be that this is a completely external committee.
Yes.
So we would need somebody appointed from council to actually go on there. On our committees, yes, the mayor can sit as ex officio on those.
Okay. Well then, would anyone like to make a motion? The first, let's just go with the Community Foundation because it's first on our recommendation list. So is anyone interested? Councillor Clark?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that council appoint Deputy Mayor Farrell Wheeler to the Drayton Valley Community Foundation as council representative for the remainder of the 2026 term ending October 31st, 2026.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Jeffrey?
I can see that there's no alternate listed there. Should there be?
Ooh, good question. What do you think?
If council would like to appoint an alternate in the event that the appointed person can't attend, that would be fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah. So you just ask Counselor Clark if he would accept your friendly amendment to make you as the alternate. Well, then you can pick anyone else. That's the joy of making the motion.
We should find out who might be interested before I make that motion.
Sure.
As an alternate. Okay, Counselor Bohm.
Perfect.
Okay, so I would like to ask Counselor Clark if I can make an amendment to his motion to add Counselor Bohm as the alternate for the Drayton Valley Community Foundation.
I accept.
Wonderful. Any further comments, questions? Then I will call the motion. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. All right, is there anyone who would like to make a motion on the mayor's task force? Counselor Finn.
I move that council, I move that council appoint Councillor Brandon Boehm to the mayor's task force for the remainder of the 2026 term ending October 31st, 2026.
All right, any comments, questions? Okay, then I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And for the wealth creation, is there anyone who would like to make a motion? Counselor Bohm.
Just because Mayor Nancy Dawes isn't here, I will move that council appoint Mayor Nancy Dawes to the Rural Wealth Creation Committee as the council representation for the remainder of 2026 term, ending October 31st, 2026.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Counselor Jeffrey?
Again, I can see that there's no alternate named for that committee, so the question is, should we be doing that?
We could make a friendly amendment that the deputy will attend if the mayor cannot. And just carries like automatically throughout the entire time. So yeah, it's just rotating. Whoever the deputy is would step in if needed there. Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to request Counselor Bohm to make an amendment to his motion to add Deputy Mayor as the alternate for the Rural Wealth Creation Committee.
I accept.
Yay. Then I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Yes. 8.3 is the Yellowhead Regional Library Board. And again, Ms. Stone.
Me again. So the Yellowhead Regional Library has proposed a levy or a membership fee change from $4.85 to $5.60 per capita. The increase would take effect January 1st, 2027. The town contribution for 2026 was just over $35,000 based on the Alberta Municipal Affairs official population data for our community of just over 7,200 residents. If passed, the levy increase will result in a contribution of just over $40,000 for 2027. It is important to note that even if council wishes to move forward with that, the Yellowhead Regional Library still needs a majority, 2/3 approval from all of the municipalities within their region to move forward with that levy. So just for council's information.
Perfect. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Clark.
So do they have a particular timeline as to whether or not, or when do they need an answer on
I
this from us?
believe they needed it by June.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking I would love to debate this
They
during
need it.
budget time, but yeah, I guess that is what it is.
Any other questions? Would someone like to make a motion? Councilor Brooks?
Thanks. Who's the, it's Brandon's, sorry, Counselor Boehm is the representative of the board. Do you have anything to say? Got anything to say for yourself?
They actually have, they have emailed me some talking points specifically on this levy increase. I just looked at my email and I do have it now. So I can definitely speak a little bit as to why they are requesting the levy increase. So the reason that they're asking for the levy increase is they're currently serving more with less. So they provide core services across 54 municipalities, 44 public libraries, and 42 school libraries, serving 301,000 residents. The municipal funding for them has been frozen for 11 years, creating a gap between their costs and the contributions that they receive. Their provincial dollars are used to currently cover municipal obligations, about 300,000 every year in provincial funds is meant for innovation and improvement instead of being diverted to cover basic municipal service costs, and something those funds were never intended to do. The current model is currently not sustainable, as we've probably seen across everywhere. Reserves that once masked the problem are now being depleted. So basically they've been using their reserves in order to cover their operational costs, any kind of improvements, all that kind of stuff. And so they've decreased their reserves based on their auditor's suggestion in order to show that they actually need additional funding. And so that's where they've been pulling out of in order to cover any additional operating costs they've had over the last while. They are saying that this increase is not too expansive at from $485 to $560 is roughly the cost of 2 coffees per year per household. So it's not drastically massive. And this increase doesn't fund any new programs. It just covers their additional operating costs that they have year over year. Any questions on that? You're very welcome.
Yeah, Councillor Clark, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the total impact here is $5,400 for the entire community, so pretty minimal. And I think, I mean, they do provide a pretty integrated service, I guess, with all the municipal libraries that they're associated with. So $5,468 is pretty palatable, I would suggest. So yeah, that's my comment.
Is there someone who would like to make a motion? Councillor Jeffrey?
I move that council approve the levy increase for the Yellowhead Regional Library from $4.85 per capita to $5.60 per capita, effective January 1st, 2027.
Thank you. Any comments? I would just say that I agree with Councillor Clark. I think that it's, when you get the opportunity, hopefully over the time, to sit on that board, it's really neat to actually see how much connection they do with all the libraries. It basically takes our collection and connects it to every other collection. So it's a huge service to our community for, yeah, a very low cost. And you continually see the van pulling up front and book swapping all the time. So I can only imagine what their costs have been increasing like, and they haven't had a cost increase in 10 years. They've been really trying to keep things very minimal, operational wise. So I'm definitely supportive of this. Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Where are we at time-wise? 11:35. We've got department reports. I think we have time to get through a few. We allotted 4 minutes and 30 seconds per person. The clock will be on top. No, I'm kidding. At our conferences, they always have the clocks, and they actually are on there, and they count down, and then the microphone just shuts off. And it's so funny because people keep talking. But yeah.
I'll be brief. I'll kick things off with the.
We all read these amazing packages, so you do not have to worry.
Yes. I'll kick things off with the CAO report. So for myself, that's going to include me, communications, health, safety, human resources, and ledge services. So I'm just going to high level this. The full reports are in the package if anybody has any questions. From the CAO desk, as council remembers, we undertook the strategic planning session in February. That's an important part of council's work that we undertake, especially when we have new council, sets a direction, gets administration aligned and carrying out the wishes of council for the next year and of course over the next 4-year term. Work also started in the first quarter to begin our service level review. So this focuses on documenting the services currently delivered by the town, the resources required to deliver them, and how staff time and budgets are allocated. So a consultant was selected in March following an RFP process. Since then, administration has been working with the consultants to go through the interview process, which took place in early April. For health and safety, Paula is preparing for our upcoming core audit that is scheduled for September. Leading up to that, she is going to be making sure that our programs, training, and documentation are aligned and they're being applied across all departments. And of course, maintaining our core certification is important for a number of reasons and also supports our eligibility for WCB incentives. This past week, Paula also organized some first aid training for members of the organization, just to make sure that we have a number of folks on our team that can provide that if necessary. For human resources, recruitment for summer students is underway and interviews are going well, and anticipated onboarding will begin in May. For Ledge Services, Nancy has been working away on the privacy management program, which is required under Alberta's new Protection of Privacy Act. As part of this work, a privacy bylaw is required to be implemented. She has been working on drafting the bylaw, which is currently undergoing legal review, and council can expect to see that first draft at the May 13th GNP meeting. And administration is on track to meet the legislated compliance deadline of June 11th of this year. And for communications, business as usual. There hasn't been anything too wild and crazy. Just apart from our usual seasonal activities from Public Works, that is usually a big focus as we wrap up snow season and this transition for spring and into potholes. I will leave it there if there's any questions for me.
Any questions? No. Awesome. Oh, Councillor Jeffrey.
Just looking at the service level review overview, did I miss that?
Yes.
I did.
No, I'm kidding.
No? Okay.
Right now, it's still at the admin level. They will be coming, I believe, in May to provide council with more of an overview of how that work is going.
Okay,
So you haven't missed anything.
No, perfect, thank you.
Okay. I did have a question about the first aid in terms of, I think it's great we have a minimum number of people that need it and have it. Was it also opened up to anyone who just wanted it as extra-wise by chance?
Like,
or?
as far as the community?
No, just as far as staff.
Yeah, I believe it was open to all staff.
Evan? Okay, perfect. I think sometimes we always think of like the minimum and that there's, you need to send 2 staff and we don't really think of asking like, hey, would anyone else like this? We're already teaching the course, so it doesn't cost anything extra to.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, then we are good.
All right, next is protective services, so I'll call Tom Thompson.
Come on down.
Good morning, Council.
Morning.
So I'll be brief, just to go through, the stats are there for you. For the fire service, we responded to 132 calls for service in the first quarter of the year, which is up approximately 22% from last year. For some of the projects that we have been engaged in is our pumper truck finally arrived. So that was the cost-shared vehicle between the town and the county. So we are now in the process of ordering the equipment for it, and we will hopefully get it up and running very shortly. In terms of the AFRAX radio system, it's now fully functioning. We just have one more radio program update, and then that system will be fully operational. We've been busy doing wildland preparations, although from the weather, you wouldn't really tell that we are going to be worried about that this year, but we've been busy getting all of our pumps and chainsaws and power plants and everything ready to go, as well as we've been reviewing a bunch of policies and procedures for how to function when we have a wildland incident. An interesting piece of information that I received last night was there has been some new mandates issued to Alberta Wildfire in the event that they are now able to respond to incidents outside of the green zone. So that will mean that we will be able to have helicopters and bombers and all that kind of stuff accessible to us a lot easier than the process they had before. So that is a positive step forward for us and for Alberta Wildfire.
Councilor Clark?
Tom, can you explain the green zone to
Oh,
everybody?
sure. Yeah, it more applies to the county than the town, but on the west side of the county is provincial forestry land, and we call it the green zone. So they are responsible for wildland operations, excluding residential homes. So if there is a structure fire in that area, then the fire service responds. However, if it's a wildland fire in that area, and I believe it's west of Range Road 85, I think it is, something like that. Anything west of that, then they respond, the Alberta Forestry responds. We will respond in support with them, but they are the primary fire operation in that area, so.
So sort of like Crown land, you would say, in a sense?
Yes, Crown land.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's another name for it. Yeah. The fire department's also been busy doing a host of training. We've been doing ice rescue training as well as hazardous material training. We are continuing to train our new people on firefighting skills, which is the NFPA 1001 Level 1, Level 2 program. We've also been working on some leadership training in terms of, we've sent some people to the Operations Section Chief training, as well as Strike Team Leader, which is all related to Alberta wildfire needs. So that's what we've been busy with. In regards to enforcement services, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through the stats. You can read those. In terms of the projects, as council is aware, we have been to council regarding the traffic safety bylaw. That was at the last GMP meeting, and we'll be moving forward with that as well. Cody has been busy recruiting people for the new policing committee that is mandated by the province. So we're in the process of doing that. In terms of emergency management, lots of things have been going on with emergency management. There's been a lot of training, basic emergency management training, as well as section chief training has been going on. We were able to finalize our ESS plan, which is a huge feather in the cap for all the people involved in that. We also completed all the updates to our municipal emergency plan, and a really good piece of information we received. We received a score of 100% on our audit for the our emergency management plan from AEMA, which is the first time that's happened for the town. So that was a real plus for us. So congratulations to Cody and all the staff that participated in that and got that done. So that's awesome for us. So, and that concludes my report.
Any questions? Councillor Jeffrey?
Sorry, gotta find it. Okay, going back to fire services, it shows a number for the first quarter of 2026 of 8 rubbish wildlife land fires. Is that the norm?
Yeah,
more than usual?
that's an average
Average, okay.
number for this time of year. It's not necessarily wildland fires. It could be someone burning trash in their fire pit in their backyard. So that's also included in that as well.
I just had a quick question on what you would classify as electrical hazards as well.
That primarily is a power line that has blown down. And as council's aware, we had huge windstorms that hit us, and that knocks power lines down onto the ground. So that becomes a hazard for us.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Financial services.
Good morning, council. I will keep it pretty brief. So my financial services is finance, IT, and the daycare. So for finance, for the most part, business as usual. As you guys know, we're implementing a new financial system, and we faced quite a few challenges with that. We're slowly working through them. Q2 is going to be much better than Q1 in terms of problems and sticking to the norm. As well, we all witnessed, Phil was here, so the audit is wrapped up, final budget's passed. So those are two big things off the plate that are nice to wrap up. For IT, mainly helping out internally with problems as usual. We've seen a few issues with like procurement. Cost of stuff going up, things getting held at the border, that sort of thing. So those pose challenges, but we're working through them. And then the daycare, just coming back from Christmas, lots of illness. That's pretty typical, I would say. Maybe a little bit more this year than past years, but nothing too crazy. And then staffing, we've had a few short staffing issues, but we've been able to take advantage of the TAB program that we offer, and that's been really beneficial. And then upcoming, the tax rate bylaw, that'll be coming on May 6th to council. Like I said, the improvements to the financial system, which we're all looking forward to that. Increasing IT security, we're still working on multi-factor authentication and just making sure any potential breach is minimized. And then for the daycare, they're screening their kids to get them ready to send off to kindergarten. Is there any questions?
Councillor Jeffrey?
Where are we at with the utility bills?
So we are sending bills out. We have about 1,200 to 1,300 still to send out for March.
Okay.
Out of 3,500, so that's really good. We managed to send a ton out last week and this week. So we should be caught up end of March by the end of this week. And then Monday next week, start sending out April bills so that the plan will be by the end of April, we'll be fully caught up.
Okay, so I'll plan for 2 at the same time.
Yes.
Pretty much. 'cause
In
I don't
close
have
succession.
Okay.
All right. Sounds like. Okay.
I realized when we started here on finance, how'd that happen?
I can just briefly talk to that. It was part of the restructure that took place in January. That was part of the restructure that took place in January.
Thank you. You did great, Connor. No questions.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. All right, infrastructure services. What? Can we just sing like the Everything is Awesome song and call it good?
Good morning, Deputy Mayor and members of council. So I'm going to do the executive summary, and then I'll just highlight a few things. Executive summary, the infrastructure division made solid progress in Q1, balancing winter operations with preparation for the spring and summer season. Key equipment was purchased and repaired, while snow removal, pothole repairs, and drainage management remained priorities amid challenging weather conditions. Water and wastewater systems continued to meet regulatory requirements through aging infrastructure, particularly in wastewater, which I'll touch on, which poses ongoing risk. Capital and asset management projects advanced, including traffic signal upgrades and e-permitting integration. The facilities department underwent some restructuring and is addressing a significant backlog of work orders with limited staff. Recruitment, training, and contractor procurement progressed with additional support secured through external funding. And overall, the division remains focused on maintaining service levels, addressing infrastructure needs, and preparing for a busy upcoming season. So for some public works updates, some equipment updates, the circle and drawbar of one of our graders was damaged, which I believe I had made council aware of. The new circle has come, so we're just starting to reassemble the grader. The combo unit did have a seal failure on the pump, the big pump of it, so we had to remove the pump and send the pump away. Parts got stuck in the States, so the ETA to get it back was a little bit extended. We purchased the new skid steer and have trained all of our staff on that skid steer now. That included attachments, which was a snow blower, sweeper, mower, and a UV blade for winter and summer operations. We purchased a trailer for hauling the skid steer and the Mini X once we get the Mini X, and we're working on getting that Mini X purchased now. We did get the new sprayer for our weed spraying program. And then we started our seasonal changeovers for all of our equipment to spring. Of course, road maintenance, pothole repairs are ongoing. We are delayed again today due to the weather, but we will get back on that once everything dries up and we're able to. Contractors, we did put out our RFQ for traffic line painting, crack sealing, and we have awarded our contractors for those two. We did electrical and arborist contractor pre-qualifications. So now we have a list of approved vendors for those services. We currently have 16 seasonal staff hired and we're still in the recruitment. And some happy news was that we were successful in the Canada Summer Jobs Grant, which encompasses 16 jobs, 4,480 total hours approved, and 33,600 approved amount, which is helpful for the town. This is the first time we've received this one, and we've went multiple years, so that's positive. For water and wastewater, we did send some staff to training. We sent a couple of staff to the Banff seminar where they can get CEUs, which are continuing education units, so that they can recertify their certifications when that time comes. And we do that every 3 years. We have to continuously train in these things so that we can recertify those disciplines. Distribution, staff have done multiple CC repairs lately. And then we're still monitoring the pump failure at the reservoir. It's still running. We're still pushing water. It's just not doing as good as it should, but we are looking at purchasing that, purchasing a new pump, so we're starting the quoting process on that. In the wastewater section, this is something that I don't know that this council has been made aware of. Possibly Colin has, or Councillor Clark, sorry. But our aeration lines that are underground that feed air to all of our lagoons have started to fail. The pipe is no longer, like, you cannot manufacture this pipe anymore. It's very thin-walled pipe, and it's starting to become egg-shaped. So we're getting multiple little breaks on that airline, and we can see them pretty quick. No snow or anything will accumulate in those areas, and it basically turns the ground to dust. We have attempted to find repair couplers for this pipe. There is nothing. So we are trying to get through to our upgrades, because it is part of our major upgrades. We have found success using actually a water Hymax coupler, so that we just couple the pipe around those breaks and monitor the situation. However, it does increase our aeration to some of our primary lagoons for treatment, and we had seen some elevated numbers, which have now come back down since we addressed this last break that we had. But I want you guys to be aware, it is on our radar. It is part of the capital project for our upgrades, just something that we're gonna have to monitor. No, we're still waiting for additional grant funding for that project. It's that big wastewater project for 23 million. So we're still waiting for that additional funding. We did get funding from the province, just waiting for that additional funding. There is another federal stream opening up soon that we will be applying for. Right now, we're a hard push to get final design done because this grant requires you to be boots on the ground ready. Yeah, so. But we are monitoring, and we have had some success with this repair, and we're just going to continue to monitor, and if it becomes critical, we'll let you guys know. The distribution project, this has been an ongoing project for a few years now. We had to wait to secure some agreements with landowners to get our water pipe through. That's been completed. We are looking to go to tender end of April, beginning of May. So should expect to see that going out. Traffic light upgrades for asset management. We have gone quite a bit of that completed already thus far this year, and it's still ongoing, but is moving along really nicely. For facilities, again, right now we just kind of have everything structured and streamlined a little bit better, and we're starting to tackle all of those work orders and getting them caught up in the system. For the landfill and engineering, environmental monitoring and reporting has been issued to Alberta Environment as of March 31st, which was the deadline. And we have started, our RFP is out with our pre-called engineers for the new cell design for cell 4F, which closes, I believe, at the end of this week, and then we'll start our evaluation process. And now I'll open it up for questions.
Any questions? Yeah, everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
For Town Services, Corinne is going to deliver the Q1 report as Troy is away today.
Welcome. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to start with some highlights from our different departments. So for Community Services and FCSS, there was some federal RDN funding that was renewed for the community outreach worker position, with outreach services supporting over 80 individuals through identification, income assistance, housing placement, and systems navigation. And then for affordable housing, they're operating at full capacity. Emergency shelter and warming hearts services are continuing, and the ESS plan in collaboration with Cody, I think, has been finalized, right? Yeah. For recreation, the Aquatic and Recreation Center successfully hosted the third annual life-saving sport competition and provincial championship, while the arena is transitioning the season and capital upgrades progress at the TAC. For economic development and tourism, advancements were made in housing, business retention, and tourism initiatives, including the Toy Museum opening, the clearance of the rural renewal stream backlog, and the hosting of another successful business support network event. And then for planning and development, just continuing processing of multiple development and building permit applications, new business licenses issued, and progress on e-permitting initiatives despite the staffing capacity challenges. So, any questions? Any questions? Mine was around page 142 under Community Services. It just talks about the Community Services Center, and it says that the Restorative Justice Grant was successful, but is currently on hold pending evaluation. Can you just explain what that is? I don't know. The grant itself? Yeah, or why, yeah, what it is and why it's on hold? Yeah. So it's supposed to support the delivery of direct restorative justice services, and I think the intention is to hire someone to deliver a program, and it was for $30,000. And I think just with the transition of the CAO, that was just on hold for that leadership transition, and I think it's all in the works now. I think they have a meeting tomorrow to push it through. Okay, so it will be moving forward. Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. And my other one is on page 148. I think that's still into the economic development. It was through with the EV venture. So I haven't heard of this, but people are posting about it online. So just curious if the town has done any communications yet on it. I believe we're working on a press release, so I think that's in the update, just that the committee is still pulling that together, and then once we have it, we'll be pushing it out through our channels. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was us doing it, like the town is doing it, or is it someone else, do you know, that's? There's a committee overarching like all 10 locations for the charging stations, so together they kind of developed. So we just like applied, basically? Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I think it's something to be excited about, so. Councillor Brooks?
Thank you. So I was just looking under planning and development. And the way I said that is like I just saw it for the first time, which is not the case. But so under building permits, we've got 12 building permit applications since January 1st. I'm wondering what council's role is within our organization with building permits and subdivision applications and that sort of thing.
That might have to be a Troy question.
Okay, sure, I'll ask them later.
We can table that. We will write down that as like a 101. We can do an overview.
Sure.
That's a great idea, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Jeffrey?
Okay, I just have a question about the rural renewal stream.
I'm trying to recall, I know had a presentation or discussion, I think it was before Christmas, about the current status of that program. Just to make sure I got my understanding correct, so at that point in time, we had enough applicants that could be put through to cover our allotment for 2026?
And then some, yeah. We had
Okay,
lots.
so and we're doing that right now?
Yeah, everything that was submitted before, I think it was December 17th, has been processed. So we cleared that backlog, and we've reissued the letters that were expiring that we were notified about
So
too.
there will be no new applications at
Correct.
all accepted during 2026?
No, nothing for the remainder of the year. And then if council decides to continue with the program, we'd start accepting applications in March. Yes, I think it's next March, yeah.
Next March, okay. All right, I'm asking because I'm getting requests. So I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I understand that correctly, so, thank you.
No problem.
Counselor Finn?
And just to confirm, that cap was put on by the provincial government. So they told us 28 or 29, right?
Yeah, 28, I believe.
So it is the provincial government that's limited us on that.
I would also clarify with that, that was our allotment for 2026. So that was filled though by the 2025 applications. I just want to make sure we're fair to the community because some of them might have been waiting to apply for the 2026 allocations and didn't apply in 2025.
Yeah, we actually didn't get the letter of the change for the allotments until I think it was February. So we were already partway through the year and had to work through the backlog and go by dates and try to be as fair as we could with the applications that we'd received already.
But we wouldn't have received any in 2026 because we didn't have the program open, is what I'm saying.
Correct,
People are saying,
yeah.
how did we fill the 26 spots when you didn't have the program open?
We still received them, but correct, it was on pause, so we had decided not to process those ones, and then we toed with doing a wait list, but it just was gonna get pretty messy. So we did notify everyone that had sent us their applications that unfortunately it's been paused. We'll keep you updated if we reopen it in 2027.
Okay. Counselor Finn?
I guess just to go on that, was there any guidance from the government saying that they would cover existing? So we didn't get a letter to February if we already had pending.
There is nothing else, no,
Okay.
yeah.
Be interesting just to, I don't know if we could reach out and say, hey, look, you sent a letter in February, we already had this amount. It's unfair to our employers going forward that now they can't apply because you guys aren't honoring the backlog that we had waiting to go in.
Yeah, we could ask if that's something council wants.
Yeah. I think we're just trying to advocate for our community, for having businesses that are needing these employees, or especially if the employees, they're already here and they're working, like they're part of our community and there's that need, then.
Yeah, and we would have proof as to when the applications came in. And they would be dated 2025. So it's like your 2026 limit is this. That almost would tell me would be 2026 applicants. Maybe, yeah, I think we can get clarification on that.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, that is the end of town services. Yeah, I love motions. Why not? Who wants to make a motion? Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. I move to receive the Q1 for 2026 department reports for information.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All in favor? That is carried. Okay. Now, here's the real question. Lunch is here. Sounds like a statement. We have a little bit left on our agenda item with our council reports and then just a round table. Splash Park was carried from last time and that's it. So do we want to just take a lunch break or do you want to take a 5-minute break and then get through the rest of these? Yeah, please.
If I can make a recommendation, since Kelsey is here to answer some questions about the Splash Park, if we could do that quickly, and then if council would like to take a lunch break, we can do that there.
Okay, I'm good with that. Everyone's okay? Okay. Come on down. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. So this is on our agenda because we wanted to touch base on some of our summer things before it's summertime, so we can just be prepared with questions and communications to the public and stuff like that. And so we were kind of wondering general what the plan is with it, kind of when you're hoping it'll be open, just a Splash Park 101, we shall call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we started planning out the start of it. There's a bit of a process to start up. So we've been working with Public Works on that and facilities. So the plan is to have it open for the May long weekend, and that will go through till September. Now, historically, this has gone till just after the September long weekend, but because we are planning a pool shutdown, we're having conversations about leaving it open a little bit longer if the weather permits, so that they do still have that option. So it will be open Monday to Sunday, 11 to 7. If there is extreme weather, then we open it up for more like 10 to 8, just to hit those extra hours.
Okay.
Questions?
Where's that posted, just that people can be
I believe it's online on the website.
on the website?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Is there any concerns you have about starting up this year? Everything seems to be working.
We're gonna find out once they get in there. We hope there's gonna be no surprises, but you never know.
The equipment started to get old, and I know they had trouble with the lines running from there to the mechanical room just because of the food bank building there. People were driving there, and so it was kind of sagging some of the lines and stuff like that. Is all that sorted, or?
I don't think that's more the issue. I think that there's possibly where the holding tank is, we run into issues with sometimes if it rains, then it decides that it's not going to read the levels correctly, and we don't have enough water in that tank sometimes. So that is always a call to facilities to come in and make that fixed and working properly. And then it's kind of the same thing of chemical issues, because we don't have anybody sitting there permanently, so it's us back and forth to make sure that it is correct. And we do check it 3-4 times a day, so if it decides to go down, if the water levels aren't high enough, then there's security things built into the system that it shuts down. So those are just a call to the pool, and we run up to make sure it's running right.
Okay. Is there a sign posted there that says that, or do you think?
I think that people were always calling the old pool, so I think we have updated the phone number, but we will double check, because sometimes it does come here to the Civic Center.
Yeah, well, that's fine too. If they forward it through, that's no problem. So, yeah, Councillor Jeffrey?
I heard the words pool shutdown.
Yes.
What's happening?
So it is pretty normal standard that every few years that you would do a shutdown for your pool, drain, refill, retiling if it needs to happen, painting if it needs to happen, a clean above your pool. It's pretty standard stuff.
And it's been scheduled for a certain time?
Yes, we've known about this for quite a while.
Okay, can you tell us when?
So it'll be September after the long weekend, and we're gonna hope to go through, I'm planning 3 weeks. If I can get it done early, I will, but we do have constraints down there that will restrict us as to how fast we can fill and drain the pools. So this is a bit of a learning one for us too, because we haven't done this yet since it opened. So that's why I say we're planning 3 weeks, but if we can get it open early, we will.
Yeah, very normal at the old pool all the time. So I think that's a good timing wise too.
Yeah.
I know they talked about doing it over Christmas break sometimes. I'm like, that's when all the kids are off and need somewhere to be exercising in the winter. So
yes, and this is our lowest programming time, so
Yeah.
it just makes most sense.
Perfect. Okay, I think that sounds good. Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
All right, then yeah, we'll break for lunch. Is everyone good to start back at, can we start back at 10 to 1, just because we have our emergency management training scheduled? So I don't think council will take very long to finish off our stuff. Yeah, okay, 12:50. Thank you. Live for all our viewers out there. I'm like, can we see them all? No? Right? No one watches our council meetings. Fine. Okay, well, on that note, we're live, yep.
Nope. For hair loss? What's happening? Okay, then we'll start in back with our council reports. So Councillor Bohm, you are up first.
Thank you very much. Yeah, since last meeting on April 1st, I had the Joint Charity Golf Committee on the 2nd of April, in which we're just continuing to plan out what we're doing. It is scheduled for July 17th. We're working on getting sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's exciting. Last week, we had our GNP on Wednesday. Yeah, had a few presentations from some people and things were good there. Community safety meeting on the Thursday. Once again, just talking about how we're gonna operate and make the town better, a little bit safer. And I know we're coming forward with some asks here in the future. And so that'll be exciting. And yeah, that's basically been it.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Bohm? All right.
Hopefully not.
Then on to Councillor Brooks. Yes.
Okay, I'll say on the mic. I got nothing to report. No board meetings since our last meeting.
Okay, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, after our GMP meeting, we had our economic development meeting. Talked about a whole bunch of stuff there. Nothing really to report that's moving forward, I don't think, of any consequence. And then the last DVHTA meeting was canceled just because they're so efficient and they had nothing else to talk about. So.
Nice. Okay, Councillor Jeffrey.
I did have a couple of meetings, FCSS board meeting. We were finishing off the grant dollars that were available, and there'll be dollars going to the summer reading program for the library, Men's Shed, and the Poverty Reduction Committee member training. So there've been about, quick math here, about $13,000–15,000 that was left to distribute. That was taken care of. A couple items of good news came out there. The community outreach worker, the grant has been received. I think there was reference earlier today. So there'll be another 2-year contract available for that person, which is very good news. Also, very good news, just recently, Comprehensive Family Violence did receive funding for a 2-year contract, so that the program for and I'll just say Stephen Dodds was doing, is able to return to our community. So that's
in-person training.
In-person
Nice.
training, but instead of the online. So that's very
Wonderful.
good news from there. I also attended with a couple of Health Foundation members a webinar yesterday, put on. Basically, I'm still not sure what the purpose of it was, but the outcome was very good in that now I have a very clear understanding of how the 4 pillars have been what they are. And again, in a couple interesting points of view, that there are 4 pillars now instead of 1 for Alberta Health Services. Each of those pillars has a different minister responsible. So there are 4 ministers that are working together, I'm sure, to try to do the Alberta health system in our province. So again, very interesting webinar. I will be attending another one related to the Health Foundation, or to, okay, not the Health Fund, it's the Brazeau Foundation that I'm also on, that is related to grants and community housing, what kind of grants are available and how that all works. So I'll let you know next time about that webinar. It's happening next week, so. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. All right, we'll jump to Councillor Finn, and then we just need to update on the next agenda, that rotation. Okay.
Yeah, community safety meeting was great. And then on Thursday evening, I had the airport meeting. It was a really good meeting. Their fly-in car show and breakfast is Saturday, June 13th from 8:30 till 12:30. So they have the Northern Thunder Car Club coming out, hopefully the RCMP helicopter. I think Fire Services is going to be on site as well, and there's a pancake breakfast. June 13th.
Where's that at?
At the airport.
At the airport.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So I attended the Opportunity Home fundraiser. It was good timing after council had a presentation at GMP to kind of know what was going on. It was sold out, which is lovely to see. We have so many events in our community that the hardest part is getting people to those events. So it was nice to see the support for that organization. We had a youth committee meeting last night. We had some turnover on the board, and so we're going to be advertising our recruitment strategy over the next, hopefully, month, so we can get a few people interested. It's tricky with the youth and summer coming up, so we want to get some applications in before the summer. So that should be coming forward to council. And I did go to the Price is Right, but I did not get called on stage or win a car, so. And I'm still here. So that is my update. Mayor Dodds is away today. She'll be back. We will move into, do you want to take a motion? Do we need a motion? I don't know. Yeah, who wants to motion to accept our amazing reports? Councillor Finn.
I motion to accept the council reports as presented.
All in favor? Carried. And council roundtable. Councillor Finn.
So I actually have two things just to talk about. So I got some phone calls from community members. I see, basically there was an ad in the pre-press last week, talking about town budget being approved. It says funding was cut for fireworks and Eagle Point Blue Rapids. I just want to confirm that we did in fact fund those, and they were not cut.
Thank you. I can confirm, I've got Connor here just in case there's any more questions, but EPBR funding is 5,000 and fireworks is 12,000. Those are confirmed in our operating budget.
There is still fireworks in Canada Day.
There is definitely still fireworks.
Excellent. Councillor Brooks?
The county was interested in doing it too, weren't they? And so if any, it's not our budget, but the budget for fireworks technically is double now.
Twice a year then.
Twice a year, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
Councillor Bohm?
Thanks. One thing that did come up at the Community Safety Committee here last week was just in regards to funding approval within the committee. Currently, right now, any kind of funds that they want to pull out of the Travis has to come to the full council in order to get approved. And we were just kind of discussing that maybe we want to have a low threshold in regards to, okay, if we didn't want to spend $400 on this, it doesn't have to come to council to talk about $400. And so that's something that I believe we're gonna have come forward to council for approval maybe here in the near future, but something to discuss about on our side, see if there's any interest in us giving them an approval amount. I know we talked about $1,000, similar to what we have for the grants, so. Just so that we don't have to do all that legwork and footwork for a $400 ask or a $1,000 ask. Because I know sometimes those proposals can be time consuming.
Sounds good. Councillor Finn?
I guess the only thing to add is that those funds come out of the Travis fund that we already have. Right, so it's not a council expense, that those are funds in the Travis fund that are already there. Yeah.
Yeah. Council sounds agreeable to the conversation? Yeah, cool. Okay. Anything else for roundtable? Councillor Jeffrey?
Just have a question about our current bylaws. When I go on the website and I look up the list of bylaws, most requested, I think is what it says. On there is still like the curfew bylaw, for example, et cetera. So my question is, are those still there? Have we gone through a process of rescinding those? Or do we just need to update the website?
Yes, thank you for the question. Those were originally proposed to be rescinded as part of the last amendment to the community standards bylaw. However, those were removed. So it would need to come back to council in another bylaw format to essentially rescind those bylaws. The CIO at the time also made comment that there were some other bylaws within the organization that may need to be rescinded as well. So my preference would be that we kind of get all at once, get them done. But I think that'd be a conversation for GMP first on exactly, are we comfortable with this or not? So I can definitely lead that if required to get that to GMP for some consideration, so.
Perfect, thank you.
good. All right, well, nothing further, and we have no information items attached, then, oh, Councillor Jeffrey.
Sorry, you're moving way too fast. I just received something from the rural wealth thing, and because Mayor Dodds isn't here, maybe she might have got it as well. They're calling it Housing Forward 2026 Prairies Affordable Housing Summit. It's a 2 or 3 day kind of a conference on affordable housing. It's at a time in mid-May. If anybody is interested, let me know and I'll share this with you.
Doing a 2 or 3 day conference on affordable housing? That is a very intense conference to organize. I commend them. Yeah, I would say let us know the dates maybe, and yeah.
I will look that up. It was at a time when I'm not available, so I just kind of slid it aside, but I thought afterwards maybe somebody else would be interested. It could be very useful.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'd have to see if it's meant to be focused on people from Drayton Valley, for Drayton Valley, or is it supposed to be like to the whole province? Anyone who's working on affordable housing can come and talk about what they're doing. Like, we'd have to see what the program looks like, I
Okay, it
guess.
just says our Rural Wealth Creation Collaborative is offering partners in Drayton Valley an initiative to attend the Housing Forward Summit. And that there are several Drayton Valley folks have accepted the invitation so far.
Nice.
In Calgary, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant they were hosting it here, like the Rural Wealth Creation was hosting it here. That's why I'm like, do they know how much a, good thing Mayor Dodds just signed up for that committee. Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to, I've already expressed my interest in council's role in our planning and development. So I was just wondering if we could have we're gonna do a GNP or like a, kind of what I could expect for that information.
We could bring that forward to an upcoming GNP.
Okay,
if
that would be
suits you.
great.
Yep, for
Yep.
sure. I can aim for May 13th.
Sorry?
I'll aim for May 13th.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
very good. That's it. Thanks.
No problem. All right. And my only question was actually about town grants. Not sure when we're coming up for our next deadline. Until we work more with the foundation on switching stuff over potentially, I expect we're still moving forward as per usual with our grants and things.
That would be a Troy question.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
We'll check in the next meeting then get back. I just want to make sure we're not missing deadlines because we're like, oh yeah, someone else is doing it. Still is.
Yep, for sure.
Awesome. Then meeting adjourned? Okay, meeting adjourned. Yeah, right?